Wow. So, welcome to this meeting of the New London Budget Committee. Charles Kelsey, regrettably the chair. That's supposed to be humorous. We do need a little levity. I do have a formal announcement I would like to make tonight. It reads as follows. I have been assured by a higher power that the world will continue tomorrow and the birds will be at our feeders. So no matter what happens, it's all going to be okay. I greatly appreciate the participation and I look forward to the discussion. And if you all were hoping for a pajama party and brought your pajamas, this may be that opportunity because we have a responsibility as a committee to complete a very important component of our process of establishing a budget. And that has been formalized into the presentation of motions for budget adjustments. Other people like to refer to them as cuts, but there's also increases. So I'm going to use adjustment as sort of the descriptor. These have been published publicly, so if you've had a chance to review them, that's great. All committee members have received these and hopefully have all read them and absorbed them. And I want to thank everyone for the work that was done to prepare those motions because they're well crafted and well supported. To start the meeting, because we have participants who are on Zoom remotely, there's a protocol that we need to follow and will, which is when we first of all announce that the roll call of members present, I will need all members to state that, which I will do now. Charles Kelsey, Chair, present.
Karen Epstein, present.
Rich Anderson, present.
Need the microphone on.
John Tilley, present. John Tilley, present.
Louis Boda, present.
Lindsay Lund, present.
Meg Brown, present.
Please speak into the microphones and enunciate.
It is, the microphone is on. I know it looks like it's on because it's green, but if you hit the button, it'll turn bright green. There we go.
The middle,
Like
the middle.
That.
Yep, you got it. Lindsay, yours was good.
All right, Meg, one more time, please.
Meg Brown, present.
Thank you. Do we have anyone present on Zoom at this time?
I'm going to let. We have Cynthia on. Cynthia, if you can unmute yourself and do a roll call and then also turn your camera on as well.
There we go.
Sorry, I thought my camera was on.
Perfect. And then Cynthia, if you can just roll call your name, present.
Cynthia Russo's present.
And then we also need you to do a roll call of anyone that is in with earshot of you so we can count them as being in attendance as well.
I'm alone in a room.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all. Our first agenda item is our consent agenda. That is to adopt the meetings from the January 7th, 2026 meeting. Those meeting minutes were edited in advance. The draft of them is included in your packet. I need a motion to adopt.
So move.
Second.
So moved by Lou, seconded by John. Any discussion for additions, deletions, edits of any kind? Having heard none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
State by individual name. So we'll start with you, Meg.
Meg Brown, yes.
Charles Kelsey, aye.
Karen Epstein, aye.
Anderson, yes. John Tilley, yes.
Lou Boda, aye.
Lindsay Lund, yes.
Cynthia,
Cynthia Russo's, yes.
the minutes are adopted. Thank you very much. I'd like to step back just a little and talk about process. It will be a slight modification to our agenda, but I think it's important. as we continue to learn together, as we continue to work together, as we continue to engage together, both as a committee and as a city and as a town. Um, uh, Learning is continuous, and I think it's important because to understand process and understand the distinctions that I'm going to try to illuminate just slightly. The Budget Committee, and I'm going to read this, plays an essential role as an elected, independent body chartered statutorily. The central purpose of the committee is to assist voters in making prudent, informed decisions to appropriate public funds. By design, the committee operates independently of day-to-day town administration, providing voters with an objective review of the proposed budget. The committee exists solely to serve the voters by combining statutory independence, transparent processes, careful financial analysis. It helps ensure that local tax dollars are allocated thoughtfully, sustainably, and in line with community priorities. The Budget Committee establishes a budget for consideration. The Select Board separately establishes a budget for consideration. So when feedback is provided to the Budget Committee or other bodies, when you're talking to us about a position or not, it's best to talk to the Budget Committee about their budget, and it's best to talk to the Select Board about their budget. There is no guarantee those two budgets are ever going to be the same. However, we will embark on a process this year, as it's always been the practice, but hasn't always been used because it has not been necessary, by which there will be a budget reconciliation meeting between the Budget Committee and the Select Board to just do just that, reconcile the budgets where there are differences and hopefully achieve a singular budget that can then be presented to the town at the annual meeting. That meeting for members of this committee we would like the reconciliation meeting originally scheduled for next Wednesday to be rescheduled for next Friday. There are some conflicts in schedules that are, and also frankly, some time constraints relative to the preparation of materials that necessitate this. So the revised proposed date for the joint Select Board Budget Committee reconciliation meeting is for next Friday, January 30th at 5 o'clock at Whipple Hall. And I'd like you to note your calendars. We do need a quorum for that to occur as well. If there is a major objection, please state that objection to me separately outside of this meeting. The order of how we're going to, the order and attempt on how we're going to work through tonight is that we have presently in writing in hand 8 motions. We will review as a committee each motion singularly. That motion will be discussed, deliberated, but I will ask us all not to restate the restatement of the statement, the history of the world that supports or doesn't the motion. I'd ask that the input and the feedback be focused toward, I support it, I don't support it. If I support it, here's a general reason. If I don't, here are my general reasons. I think all of us have heard those. We've been in a deliberation process as a budget committee for many, many months. We've talked about these issues. Some of them have recently come up, which make them, I just add more to our plate of consideration, if you will. So I am charged with a couple of things, and one of them, regrettably, is facilitation. Please do not take offense. If I deem that your commentary is maybe off track or verbose, as mine might be, feel free to facilitate me. I will ask you to move it along. I'm not going to put a time limit on people speaking. I'm not sitting up here with a stopwatch. I just don't think that's constructive. I think as adults, we can moderate ourselves, and I ask us all to try to do that as best we can. Secondly, I'm asking for consideration. This is about us. This is not about me. So I have personal opinion. I have probably a little bias here and there. My wife tells me I've got a lot of biases. We're now not talking, by the way, based on one of the emotions that's going to be discussed. Yeah. So, but as a member of this committee, as each member full knows, we must remain objective. And we're here to really be independent, both as an individual, but also as a body, and take comments for what they are and take them from a standpoint that there's good intent, even though you might personally disagree with it. That's what deliberation, that's what debate is all about. So the spirit of this is what I hope we can achieve while we accomplish what our goal and objective is. So we're going to start the motion.
Charles, I had a quick question.
Yes.
Sorry, I might have submitted a motion, but it wasn't for a monetary thing. It was to discuss some of the process and the conversation, transparency, but I just wasn't sure if that could get added in still.
We'll
Okay.
add it as our ninth motion.
Yeah, and it's
you
not
can
a-
represent it, and you can represent it at that time.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yep. Thank you.
We will just need it in writing so we can get it up on the website.
Oh, I was tardy.
Okay.
I was late.
So noted.
Thank you.
One demerit for Lindsay.
I know.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start with the first motion. What we are going to do in terms of our process, and I'll explain this also, the why behind this if I can. We're going to review the motion. We're going to have discussion that will include the members of the committee and public input. We will end discussion on a motion, and we will move to the next motion. At the conclusion of the discussion, deliberation, presentations on each of all the motions, we as a committee will then vote. We are not going to pause and vote on one after its initial review. Part of the reason for that is there are interrelated motions. So the other reason is that decisions relative to a motion have a context of the whole budget and all the motions, not just a single motion. And that's one of the things this committee has strived to achieve, is to think contextually broader. We have a big budget, we have a broad budget, we got a lot of items and a lot of issues. And so while I singularly might think about one motion as the most important, and therefore it is, I think it's important for me to step back and think about the whole, because it might influence how I think about a singular particular item. So that's the process we're going to try. I need everyone's help, support, and endurance to do that and do it as effectively and efficiently as we can. I will introduce each motion. You will then be asked as members of the committee to opine on these. And where there's further deliberation, please. And also if there's a suggestion that it be amended in some form, that amending take place now versus at the voting time. Having not done this before, we're embarking together, and I hope we'll try to be as efficient. And if we get a little slippery and sloppy, forgive me. I'll do my best. Our first motion is related to the Energy Committee capital reserve request regarding solar arrays. The request made is to increase the capital reserve for the fiscal year 2027 budget to $150,000. The select board budget has a $50,000 placeholder as a capital reserve for FY 2027 for energy projects. The Energy Committee has done a tremendous amount of work to arrive at data to support the request, including 2 solar arrays and also the related financial assumptions that go with that. Ultimately, the arrays are conditioned in terms of projects financially to have deposits made before July 4th of 2026. That would allow for federal tax credits that could amount to up to 30% of the total project cost. There is no guarantee to a financial credit from the federal government on anything other than your taxes. However, that has been an operating assumption that the Energy Committee has utilized in its financial forecasts. Therefore, this motion is to increase the capital reserve request from the 50 in the select board budget to $80,000 in total, which is short of the $150,000 that the Energy Committee has asked for. And the logic to support that is that sufficient ending capital reserve money would be available to enter into solar agreements, if that is a chosen course, with sufficient monies for deposits to meet those obligations, plus contingency monies. The present balance of the capital reserve is $111,104. If you take the amount deposit needed at $166,000 and apply $20,000 to that, it gives you a total of $183,000. If you subtract the current balance from the $183,000, it leaves $71,896. So the motion is to go to $80,000, once a few thousand among friends. But there's some wiggle room and some contingencies dollars in there for unknowns, should the decision be made to move forward on the capital reserve, on the solar arrays. Understanding that the deposits for these solar arrays are refundable net of any expense incurred by the vendor that is contracted. So there's money that could be returned should the town delay or decide otherwise relative to these solar arrays. That's the motion. I open it for conversation, consideration, and questions of the committee.
May I
Lindsay?
have one? Yes. It is not in disagreement with the project. This is just a point of order that capital reserve is not meant for being just the fund all for a project in immediate need for funds. And we are grabbing from here and funding from here. And I just want to know, again, and so do the taxpayers, in regards to transparency, what does it cost? And I don't need to get into it because I do know I was at the energy meeting. They did explain to it. It's pretty simple math. I just have a problem with how we grip threads from funds rather than just acknowledge operational costs or opportunities. And we don't have to necessarily say, oh, well, we weren't planning for that, so we just won't do it, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. It's just a point of order.
Okay,
Thank you.
noted. Other comments, questions, thoughts?
Charlie?
Yes, Karen? please.
One question I have is, and I asked it at the meeting where the Energy Committee came forward, I think 2 weeks ago. It had to do with deposit, and it was represented that in our experience, some of that work would include would basically be incidentals. But in terms of if the solar array company decided that they needed to buy the solar panels for whatever reason, that indeed could be a cost that could be substantial and may not indeed be refundable. Because we don't have guarantees about what they will be doing with that deposit money. Just
That-
putting that out there for consideration.
I think that's a fair statement. Any comments, response?
No, I just want to clarify the process. When a motion is made, it has to be seconded before discussion can take place.
Oh, okay. Does anybody want to second it?
I'll second. Cynthia Rusas.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Okay,
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to take attendance.
thank you.
I would add a
So-
comment here if no one else is very
Please,
hard.
Cynthia,
on
go ahead.
interrupting anybody. I'm also, I think Karen's point is well taken regarding the idea that the deposit is refundable. We were given assurances of that, but actually I think that's something that needs to be really clarified, perhaps in writing about what expenses might take place and what that process will be, so we can be confident if there were to be a change that substantial amount of the deposit could be refunded. I don't think we can just make the assumption without the Energy Committee clarifying that prior to going under contract.
Agree. I'd add to that, that I think the devil is in the detail here, and should the motion pass, the Energy Committee has some work to do, because there has to be a contract, and that contract would need to stipulate very clearly how any expenditures would be treated against the deposit. If an asset was to be purchased, such as a solar array panel, who owns it? Where's it stored? If the project is delayed, or in fact, if the project was abandoned for any given reason. So the financial impact and then the ownership impact is clear. I think those are contractual details that are essential. And I think that's the work of the Energy Committee, and whomever else from the town would be given as an aid to help in contractual negotiation and development. Other comments?
I have a question, Charlie. So we have, and I'm sorry, this is just,
Bring your mic a little closer.
this is a point of order too. I'm just curious. So we have one motion here that is to take the 150 to 80. We have another motion that we will consider later to defray this. If this doesn't pass and the other one doesn't pass, when do we vote on the 150? Will that be at the next meeting? Like, how does that?
We would vote.
Give me the order here.
In the order here, we're reviewing this motion. We'll review the second motion that you're referring to, which is a motion to defer the solar array project, not to abandon it, but to defer it, which would have potential impact in terms of the capital reserve amount. The request we are actually comparing ourselves to is the current select board budget has 50,000 in it for capital reserve. So our motion amount here is compared to the 50. So it's a $30,000 increase against that. It's not the 150.
And it will be voted on at the beginning of the next meeting, the reconciliation meeting, because you all will have to vote on your budget. And so that will happen at the reconciliation meeting.
Lizzie?
Another point of order, just a question. We can still make a motion on the floor based on discussion and dialogue from these motions.
Yes.
I
When
know-
we get to voting,
Yep.
yes. If now anyone would like to amend this motion, it is perfectly fine and appropriate to do so. Otherwise, we'll go to the next motion and a similar process of discussion and opportunity to adjust it can be at that time. And then when we vote, it's very possible you could amend it at that time as well.
Yeah, I'm going to need to think on that one. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay? It's a really easy process. All right, is there any public comment or input on this energy project motion? And if you do have comment, there are 2 microphones at the end of each of these tables.
Yep.
And to turn the microphone on, there's a lever that you push to the right. That's the first one below you. No, down, John, down, right there on that piece. There's a lever that will ignite a green light. No.
Oh.
Adam, wait, John. Adam, please show Mr. Ellis that. Yeah, no, he's got it. He's gonna,
From top.
all right,
Yeah, it's, all right.
all right, sorry.
Yeah, just in reference to the contract,
And you are whom?
I'm John Ellis.
Thank you.
Uh,
Hi, John.
In reference to the contract, I've been in touch with Revision, and there is a contract that they will send me a sample one because we don't have a set commitment on the amount and whether we're going to do the stump dump or both mountainside. But verbally, they do have in their contract a refund clause that we would receive any unused amounts of money. We would receive that back. Also, they said they have enough business right now, enough reserved contracts that if we did place an order, they will gladly take whatever we've ordered and transfer it to another one of their projects.
Mhm.
That's not going to be an issue at all, and they will put that in writing in their contract.
Excellent.
So, and once we approve that, obviously, we'll let you review that contracts for your approval to make sure that the legal wording is there to protect the town so that we could get back. And if they never start the project, Jen said of Revision, there's no problem with getting it back. They have enough business that they could use all of whatever we order on other projects.
Okay, thank you, John, very much. All right, other discussion on this particular motion? Other-
I will say I did some research into the board and the company, and they're not like scoundrels out to like make their money on solar energy users. So I do think that's just my opinion. I think it's a pretty legitimate and worthy and sound investment that also meets a goal. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a question? I have a question, please. It's Cynthia.
Yes, Cynthia.
John, in your comments, you just mentioned, I think, the stump dump project is, we're confidently going forward with that, but there's still indecision about whether you would go forward with the Mountain Road project if this was approved. Did I hear that? Did I hear it? Is that what I heard?
Cynthia, John's coming back to the microphone. Give him 1 minute.
Oh, thank
He
you.
went back to his seat. No, it's okay. It's okay. Here he comes.
No, my comment was that we could do both projects if it's approved for the 20% that we need. So, and so far, we've gotten the preliminary okay for all the permitting that we would need at the stump dump. And the same would hold true for Mountainside. Cynthia, repeat your question so I make sure I understood it.
We're clear that you're focused on doing both projects for the $850,000 total. I
Correct.
misunderstood. It sounded like the stump dump was clearly going to happen, but the Mountainside Road was a little less certain, but you're saying they both are.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason that I said that was that there's some expenses on running the electricity on the, I believe it's the east side of the mountainside. We're going to need to run and get a quote from Eversource on running that extension to the west side where the solar array would be placed. And we have not gotten that estimate yet, but it should be forthcoming because we've met with Eversource for the stump dump this last week, and they find no problem to put in the 600 amps that we would need and the pedestal that we would need. I've also spoken with Sam about moving the
Thank you.
Okay.
piles of sand and
So
mulch.
John, I'm going to facilitate you.
Yeah.
that we do not want to get into the detail of the implementation of the project at this point. I think where we're at this juncture is to understand the financial implications and the modeling that has been done to date. Cynthia, I think what I understand, and John, stay please to correct me if I misstate this. My understanding is that the deposit amounts for the two projects would be in and around the neighborhood of $166,000. However, when you actually get to contracting, the total project cost is obviously far greater. And how that would be funded is not what we're discussing tonight.
Correct.
However, it's fair to say, and the committee's recommendation was a sustainability bond that carries a lower interest rate than traditional municipal bonds as a potential vehicle for financing.
Charlie, let me stop you there. My question was really if there were outstanding costs associated with the Mountainside Road project, which could potentially mean that that wouldn't go forward. Although John said, it sounds like what John is saying is that there are minimal numbers that need to come back. Just if there was any chance Mountainside Road didn't go forward, we obviously wouldn't be putting aside reserves for that piece of the project. That was really all my question was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think
We
John
don't have
answered
all
it.
those
that
numbers.
You
Yeah.
don't have the numbers. Will you have them before we vote on whether we would allocate reserves for the Mountainside Road project?
Yeah, we
No,
should have them.
we're gonna vote on that motion tonight. So
don't
no
have
is,
information.
no, so no is the answer. And the quick math that has been done is to be able to provide a sufficient reserve, which would be an increase from the 50,000 that is presently allocated to 80,000, which would provide the financial resource to be able to make the deposits on both should the decision be made subsequently between now and July 4th to move forward. So the monies would be there to be able to do that. If we don't vote those monies, then the balance necessary for the Mountain Road project would not be there if it's required to be 20% of the total project cost.
I think I sort of understand. That's fine. I don't want to belabor it. We have more discussions on this topic anyway, but I think I understand what you mean. I just didn't want to allocate too many reserve funds. If you're only talking about one project in the unlikely event that the numbers come out that John's discussing, or there's some issue with running electricity, just sounded like there was a little uncertainty on both.
There is uncertainty on that number, which John, who's now walked away from the microphone again, but will acknowledge there is uncertainty on that. They're working with Eversource presently to try to get an estimate of what that looks like. And that's one of the reasons for the motion containing contingency dollars. There's 20,000 plus a little extra in the difference between 71,000 and 80,000 that is could be available for that purpose
Okay.
if it's needed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments that anyone would like to make? Yes, please.
Cara Leone. Just a quick clarification, the Board of Selectmen are the authorized to remove expenditures from the capital reserve fund, this capital reserve fund, correct?
That's correct.
So, and I think that the purview of the budget committee tonight is the dollar amount, but they can't specify, and I could be wrong on this, but they would not be able to specify that these funds are tied specifically to this project. So it's not a vote on the merits of that project, but an allocation to the capital reserve fund of a specific dollar amount, correct?
It's both, because that is what the Energy Committee has presented to the Budget Committee as the rationale for their capital reserve request. The actual legal responsibility of appropriation falls on the Select Board. The capital reserve for energy projects specifies what the use of those funds can be for. And that is controlled by the trustee of the trust funds. They ensure that the definition of what that capital reserve is purposed for is followed.
But to be clear, what you're discussing tonight, it does not tie that capital reserve transfer to this exact project. You don't have.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to move us on. Okay,
Yes.
ready to roll? All right. Motion 2 is a motion that is related to the capital reserve account, and that it is representing that it would be in the better interest not to make the capital reserve allocation at this time, and that there's a lot of homework that needs to be done on, one, what the actual return on investment is, how it's calculated, how it's accounted for. In addition to include looking at investments from additional perspectives, one being a present value calculation and a net present value calculation, which make returns substantially different, but it doesn't necessarily negate a project going forward. And third, this motion of deferring this until more information is available is suggested that there are also alternatives to solar that might be more completely represented for consideration. So I'd open this up for comment, question, addition to the committee.
Charlie?
Yep.
Just to be clear, this motion here does not change the existing appropriation that's been submitted to the Budget Committee. The 50,000 remains untouched by this. So I just wanted to, that's a
Speak
clarification.
into your microphone.
Excuse me.
Enunciate, please.
Charlie, it needs to be seconded.
Oh,
Thank you, John. All right. Apology.
No, it's-
Who's forwarding the motion, first of all?
Do we not need to vote on the first one?
No, we're not voting on the motions. We're doing it
Okay.
at the end.
Sorry.
You're-
Okay,
yeah.
I'm paying attention.
Okay, who's making I'll make the motion. Seconded by Lou. Thank you. Karen,
So just to be clear, this motion does not touch the existing appropriation for 50,000. That remains untouched. What this motion does is, I take it for granted that people have read the motion, is it asks for a time to better evaluate this proposal as it is representing returns, and to do a complete and thorough financial analysis of the proposal in light of what the other alternatives are. This is a long-term investment, and it does not yield a return in terms of looking at the future value of cash flows until the 13th year. So there was a representation by the vendor that in the presentation, that the return starts very early on, when in fact that does not bear out based on standards for that calculation, which is all noted within this motion that's proposed. Thank you.
when you say it doesn't produce a return, there's income in the first year.
Excuse me, doesn't produce a positive return on investment. The standard for measuring a return on investment, the calculation is income minus the cost divided by the cost. And the cash flows of that are projected for this investment take time to accumulate up to an amount that covers the cost of that investment. So this
Covers
analysis
the cost or covers the entire investment?
covers the cost, which is based on the proposal, which was was like just in speaking of the stump dump project, it was 431,000 with an investment, 30% investment tax credit on that. So this analysis takes that investment tax credit into account and applies a zero cost to capital. So if we were to finance it, that would actually put that break even out a number of more years. So in a scenario with a zero cost of capital, with the tax credit applied, in terms of investment, you break even in the 13th year. So that means that the town has invested in this case here, the 300,000, roughly $300,500. And that investment then accrues income over a period of time and gets to a break even in that 13th year. So that's an important part of this analysis and becomes even more important in terms of if you have a cost of capital, which in this case would be a so-called sustainability bond, because that would come with an interest rate cost. The assumption is if it's coming out of capital reserves, that there is no cost of capital. So it's a beneficial assumption there with a 0% rate of a cost. So that being said, there are other alternatives to meeting this energy sustainability goal. And it would make sense to lay them all out in terms of what the costs are and what the benefits are. At this juncture, this can be a decision that the town would still like to go forward on, but it would not be driven by the financials. It'd be driven by other considerations. So that was the purpose of this analysis, was to lay that all out, because the presentations that were made were showing an early return on investment at a very attractive rate. But the formula that was described in the proposal does not conform with what would be the standard financial calculation for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Other comments, questions, thoughts from the committee? So the distinction I'm just want to be clear on is that this motion moves forward the $50,000 capital reserve allocation as noted in the current select board budget, and is instead deferring a decision on furthering the project financially beyond that to a more thorough analysis of actual costs and returns.
That is correct.
Okay. Do I have any public input that would like to be shared at this time on this motion? Hi, Jamie. There's a button on top of the microphone right there that will light up a green light. And
I think I've got it.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please sit down and make yourself comfortable and announce who you are, please.
Thank you so much. I'm Jamie Hess. I'm the chair of the Energy Committee. And I would just like to make a couple of brief comments. Let's see, there was a different screen when I was in the back of the room. And I don't think we need to pull that up again. But if you do, I just want to note a couple of things. One is that the revenue for the proposed solar project is flatlined on this chart, and that is not accurate. So just as Eversource electric rates tend to go up every year, the revenue from the project will also go up every year. So that needs to be figured into any net present value or other calculation. The expected revenue from a solar project is going to increase just about every single year that the project is live. The other thing I'd like to note is that we do have an important decision to make as to how to fund the full cost of a solar array. And one proposal that was floated was to use the capital reserve to put down the deposit, which would be approximately 20% of the cost, and then finance the remainder through a so-called sustainability bond where we can tap a low-interest source of funding that is targeted at municipal solar projects. In that case, we don't have a huge upfront cost. We only have the 20%, and we'll start earning returns against that 20%, and those returns will be used to pay the interest on the bond. So you can't say, well, we have to put up the entire cost of the project up front and pay interest. It's one or the other, not both. And those are the two principal points I'd like to make. And lastly, I just wanted to say that we do have an intangible benefit. We're not talking strictly about finances and dollars and cents and plus and minus. We're talking about meeting the town's renewable energy goals that were adopted at town meeting back in 2018. And so I would certainly support motion 1, but I would not support motion 2, because to support motion 2 means delaying, which puts our 30% federal rebate at a severe risk. And we're talking about a rebate that's going to be over $100,000 on the stump dump project and another six-figure sum on the Mountain Road project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie, may I address?
Yeah, go ahead,
I was.
please. Oh,
sorry.
Jamie, you have a question from a member. Lindsay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jamie. Just, you say, amendment number 1, you could consider, refresh my memory, what your initial, I can't find it, your initial budget proposal request was, the dollar amount.
Well, there was a request from the Energy Committee for an appropriation of $150,000 for fiscal year 2027. But as the maker of motion number 1 noted, that's a larger sum than is necessary to put down a 20% deposit on the Stump Dump and Mountain Road solar projects.
Okay, I caught up. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay,
My
Karen,
pleasure.
you'd like to respond?
Thank you. Jamie, I definitely want to acknowledge your comments about the flatlining on the revenue. And I'd like to address it in this way. To your point, this demonstrates the need for further analysis. I acknowledge that that's the only number I had to go with. And there is likely there's going to be inflation, there's going to be changes in rates, but there needs to be a discussion about what those forward expectations may be with regarding to the income side as well as on the expense side. In the motion, there is a note that this presentation is rather simplistic because that's all the data we have right now. A full comprehensive analysis would include forecasting what may happen with electrical rates, what may happen with the with the RECs that may flow from this, the renewable energy certificates. So there's a combination of both income for the electricity and RECs that are involved in this 24,750, which is on the forecast there. But that is the point of further exploration, is to do that work and also understand there's outflows at the same time. There's There will be the replacement of the inverters and other costs that will occur over time as well. So the purpose of further analysis would get us the opportunity to flush out those variables as best we can and use the financial tools available to come to the most fiscally responsible decision for the long term. So that was the purpose of this motion. Thank you.
Any response, Jamie?
Yeah,
Follow-up?
just briefly, I think the decision that needs to be made this evening is whether to go with the original 50,000 or to bump it up to 80,000 or some other number. We're not asking the Board of Selectmen to approve any expenditures. The money would simply go into the capital reserve fund and stay there until we have time to do the detailed analysis that Karen proposes. In order to hedge our bets, I think we need to put the larger sum into the capital reserve. But the Energy Committee is not advocating rushing out and spending that money. And we're more than happy to go forward and collaborate on any detailed analysis that the budget committee rather would like to undertake. And case in point, we are working with Eversource, the electric utility, and the town's electrical contractor to pin down the infrastructure costs so we can have a hard number instead of just the $10,000 per project that we have estimated up to this point. And we hope to have those hard numbers back from Eversource and the electrical contractor within the next week. So that will be a big step toward the detailed analysis that everybody would like to see. And again, we don't have to put down any deposits on any project until we're satisfied that it's a sound investment for the town. And hopefully we'll be able to do that by July 4th. Thank
So
you.
noted. Thank you, Jamie. Any other public input on this particular motion? Committee
I'd
member?
like to say thank you for all the work that they have already put in research.
So
That's
noted.
been done.
This is a question of, maybe even, is this in our purview? We are here to vote on whether or not we fund things, but we are not necessarily embodied in law to determine how that money is spent and when that money is spent and by what measures that money is spent. This would be the role of the selectmen, not the role of the budget committee. And it seems like this motion in particular falls into the role of the selectmen and not us.
I think that is accurate. And the distinction, Jamie made it quite well, between the motions is twofold. One, allocating a capital reserve number of 50,000 or allocating 80,000. Secondly, that the second motion of deferral is to consider other alternatives to solar in relationship to achieving our energy goal as a town by 2030, as evidenced by a warrant article in the 2018 town meeting. So yes, how the money gets actually appropriated, spent, that's the role of the select board. I think the budget committee, by Karen's reference, and I won't speak for you, Karen, but what I've heard is a willingness to do the collaborative work to help arrive at financial projections with the Energy Committee for members of this budget committee interested in doing that work and skilled in it, to help everyone have the appropriate data to include the select board, frankly, to then inform ultimately the decision on the expenditure.
The intention of this motion was to put before the budget committee a follow-up on a proposal that was submitted to us and to represent an analysis of the proposal so that we were all current on what trying to find the right words on what was presented so that that we can make the right decision, because I'm kind of confused here because the proposal came forward to us, right? So we were asked to weigh in and ask questions about the proposal. And so this piece is the follow-up so that we're fully informed on what the financial components of that decision need to be. And we can represent a financial profile of the alternatives so that any
I don't think,
information
I
we
don't,
weigh on.
yeah,
Get-
please go ahead, John.
So Karen, I appreciate that, but the motion is for us to ask to defer the decision to spend the money. That is
No,
the
to Al-
proposed
no.
motion is to defer a decision on funding, period.
Well,
That's what it says.
excuse me,
So if this is the motion, this is an inappropriate motion. In order to defer the money, you would need, if that is your intention, I would encourage you to vote no on number one. But number two is simply an inappropriate motion for us to be taking.
point taken, John. May I then, if I were to change the wording there, or make a motion to change the wording, decision on the appropriation?
That simply would be a vote no on this, on number one. Like you're either approving the money or not approving the money. You can vote no to not approve the money, or you can vote yes to approve the money. But once we approve it, it's the selectman's job to make certain that all the requirements are met, and which would include which would include almost everything you mentioned here. It's a phenomenal report, and there's a lot of work that went into it, but that's not what we're here to do.
Noted. So what I'm going to suggest is we move on. We will get to a motion vote at the end of our deliberations this evening, hopefully. And let that decision be informed by the conversation held so far and any follow-up that might occur. If comfortable, I'd like to go to motion number 3. I'll move the motion, which is a motion to not appropriate 50,000 allocated for dispatch console replacement, which is in the 59,000 appropriated presently to account 4915, which would adjust that appropriation to 809,000. And it also recommends increasing the appropriation for dispatch equipment repair and maintenance by 5,000 to a new total of 20,000. The rationale for the motion is that I will let the motion maker make the rationale, which Karen, you are, because I don't want to repeat it again.
I'm up again here.
You're
All
up
right.
again. Okay.
The rationale for this motion, hope everyone's had a chance to read it. I presume you have, so. Is given the fact that we have a independent and comprehensive study for the dispatch communication center will be happening, to my understanding, in the next fiscal year, that it seems unwarranted for us to be adding into the capital reserve for that purpose. Originally, I believe when the presentation was made back in October, the original request was 100,000. There was a subsequent determination that the consoles could have another year that come into the end of life, but another year could be gotten from them. And the appropriation that came forward was dropped from 100, the request from 100 to 50, which was approved. So this motion here would bring that appropriation for the upcoming FY 2027 to 0 in terms of replacing the consoles. That's a piece of infrastructure for the communications center. And given the fact that the comprehensive review will be underway next year, it would seem to be the prudent thing to defer that. This was not meant to be, as it's clearly stated here, is not a permanent recommendation on that, but it's waiting for the study and the recommendations of that to become available. It also includes increasing maintenance by $5,000 to account for any repairs and maintenance that may be required to keep the console going in case something were to come up. So that was the purpose of this. Thank you.
Other questions, thoughts from committee members? Lindsay, please.
I plan on recusing myself from the vote.
Oh,
but
I'm
just-
sorry. We need to
Yeah,
second the motion. I'll second the motion. All right.
Okay.
What did I do?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing, which is I hear the word study, and I know that professionally there are FCC compliances and end of life frequency uses that all of our safety and operations departments have to adhere to. That's just the cost of doing business. And so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that is the purpose and intent for these replacement dash radios, consoles. The same thing. We have more and more use on our band towers, 5G, 6G, all the things, and it puts more and more of a pressure and rate of bit rate for emergency responses than to have very finite defined channels that don't get crossed up. I know this. I'm a professional. That is why I would not, again, I'm recusing myself. However, I do feel it is important, and it never costs us less whenever we try to keep up with the times. It costs us a lot more every time we play catch up. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. I would encourage you not to recuse yourself because I don't believe there's a pecuniary interest that you will gain by how this motion would be determined or decided. That's a comment. Other input on the motion?
Question on the motion, probably to Chief Cobb. There's a $5,000 insert here for repairs. For lack, is that appropriate? Can they even be repaired? Is $5,000 adequate if it were to happen? Can you talk a little bit to that?
Sure. I took a quick look at our years, the past few years of what we've spent in dispatch equipment repair and maintenance, and I don't believe we've been over 5,000. I should have brought my whole book up with me, but I don't, or rather 15,000 over the past few years. So will $5,000 be helpful? Yes, if something breaks, I'm sure it will, but it won't replace the console. I would also note to the budget committee that for the past, I think at least 2 years, the capital reserve account has not been funded for the dispatch or communications equipment. And traditionally, the town had put $34,000 in that capital reserve every year, which has helped us get to the point we are today. And if it had been funded, we would be a lot closer to the amount that we will need to replace those consoles. So again, the ask of me last fall was to see if we could defer replacing these consoles for a year. I spoke to our vendor. We can do that, but my recommendation was to still add some money into it, hence the $50,000 instead of the $100,000 that we would need to replace them. So in answer to your question, John, yes, I'm sure it would help if something breaks to that amount of money, then yes. But traditionally, we haven't spent more than 15,000 over the past few years, I believe.
Other comment?
Yeah, this is Ashley Siebold. I would also note that it is unlikely that by the time we get to the beginning of the next budget cycle, that we would have decisions made on anything coming out of the dispatch study. The dispatch study won't start until July. It will probably take several months. So by the time we start the next budget cycle, it is unlikely we will have any idea of what potentials there even are. And so this isn't just delaying it for a year. This could potentially delay it for several years. And I think that gets us into a real problematic situation.
Chief Cobb, another question. When is the sort of expected replacement of the console?
It was in
Year.
FY 27 when they were
27, so
installed.
next year.
Yeah, when they were installed in approximately 2015, the lifespan was about 10 years. They are coming to end of life, and equipment or other technology has changed and other things are improving every single day, as we all know. So, but again, I had that conversation with the vendor and we could defer it for one more year, but they don't recommend going out beyond that. So
So
to
we are,
replace.
the motion is to not fund a capital reserve fund, which
Yes.
wouldn't which the town would still control and would not be utilized in the next year anyway, while the study is taking place.
It
Correct.
could be, if there's an issue in dispatch, I could absolutely go to the selectmen and say, I need this amount of money for something out of the capital reserve,
Okay.
because the Board of Selectmen are agents to expend
Cool.
out of that
Fine.
account. So I wouldn't say that we won't spend any money out of it. Again, another reason that I believe it should be funded so that it can remain available to us if something should need replacement
Thank
or
you.
repair in a capital manner.
I have,
Just a moment. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Lou Boda first.
Lou
Cynthia,
Boda,
and Rich.
I'm a little bit reticent to, as a member of the budget committee, to approve funding gaps on vitally needed equipment that we need. And I know that there may be a delay, but I'm when we look at the capabilities of our first responders, I think we need to support the idea that their equipment is going to have to be replaced, and we're going to have to pay the piper whether we like it or not, either now or in the future. So if that's going to create funding that is not going to be touched for a year or so, there's additional funding to be had in the future years, and so be it. But I would rather see it in black and white in the capital reserve, and instead of losing it.
Cynthia Russos.
I'm just a little bit confused about the dispatch study. It comes up so frequently. It's been discussed at the timing of looking at the building of the new police station, and yet we are back in this time not having really a sense of when this information, which is so vital to making this important decision and many others. I just don't understand why the process is so long, and actually, with just respect, I wonder why we're now being informed that this decision will not even, we will have no information until almost the end of next year.
Yeah.
Just find it very confusing.
Sure. So it is in the FY 27 budget for the study to start. So that couldn't start until July when the fiscal year starts. So we're going to start the RFP process now in what is now Q3 of FY 26, but the actual study wouldn't be able to start until July. And I'm being conservative there. Maybe we would have a report and findings within 2 or 3 months, but that's still probably into into the next budget season.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Richard.
Chief, just for my own edification, with our current system, our dispatch system, if we were to have a catastrophic failure tonight of that system, what kind of redundancies do we have?
So we have some redundancies at New London Fire Department, and we have some other redundancies at the Sunapee Safety Services building. But if that were to happen and it was completely catastrophic and we couldn't use any of the equipment, my next phone call would be to the state of New Hampshire and or our vendor to send up a temporary communications trailer.
Thank you.
And or other like cell phone companies have seen Verizon has temporary communication trailers. So that would be my next phone calls.
Lindsay.
Why do we need another study? I am
I could answer that. but I'm
1,000%
not going
serious.
to.
I thank you.
I'm going to defer the question right now. We're not here to debate whether we're doing a dispatch study or not. We are here to consider the motion that is removing a $50,000 capital reserve allocation for the purpose of communications equipment in the FY 2027 budget.
Fair enough, but the study costs money, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And the study has going to be done, and the study has been funded.
And
We hope it
I
does.
guess I would point out as well that the $50,000 that the Board of Selectmen have approved is for the Communications Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. It is not allocated specifically for consoles. It could be for tower equipment. It could be for radio equipment on one of the mountains. And much like the conversation I think you were just having about the energy issue, this is money that is in the Communications Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. It is not being specifically allocated here this evening.
It's not earmarked to a specific expenditure.
Yes.
It is allocated to the reserve,
Yes.
of which the select board has discretion,
Yes, agents to expend. Yes.
agents to expend. Excuse me.
So for clarification, Charlie, please, but when you look at the capital account spreadsheet, that is the notation for the 50,000 that is represented as being for that purpose. But what you were
That's one of the
saying-
largest projects that we would be facing in the coming years. Absolutely, the consoles. But if we had a major failure of equipment on the tower at the police station or some of the equipment on Mount Sunapee or Mount Kearsarge, and we needed a major capital expense, that's the account I would likely look to, because it's unlikely I'd be able to afford to pay for that out of the operating
No.
budget.
Clear.
Yep.
But in terms of when people look at that capital expenditure spreadsheet and you see a purpose identified within an account, that can lead to, I think it's helpful to have this clarified, that it's not targeted for that particular item that may be represented on that spreadsheet.
So noted, and I
Thank
think
you.
as we go into the capital improvement plan next year, we will work to do that very specifically and not necessarily by naming, obligate it to a particular named project, as opposed to what the capital improvement plan does is project capital needs. It does identify what it might be used for, and there are estimates associated with it. The capital reserve worksheet did note consoles. All right, is there other input? Bill Helm, please.
So Bill Helm, retired selectman, and I'm a little rusty on this, but I've been noting here language that's being used, and I think before you get to some of the other motions, they're going to be even more controversial here. What the budget committee is doing is preparing a budget that it's going to recommend to the town meeting. The town meeting is the legislative body of the town and is the only body that can actually appropriate money. So everything that is being discussed here tonight is only your recommendations or the selectmen's recommendations. And every single one of these items can be debated and probably will be on the floor of the town meeting and will be appropriated only by a majority vote of all the people at town meeting. The ability of the selectmen to distribute funds is given to them by vote of previous town meetings, so that once funds have been appropriated by the town meeting, we don't have to wait annually to be able to actually expend them. So the words here about approve, recommend, appropriate, and expend are very, very important. All we're doing here is you all are deciding what you're going to recommend in March. The town meeting is going to decide what's appropriated. So every one of these items will undoubtedly get debated there. So whether it's solar or police activity or fire things yet to come. I
Thank
think
you
it's
for the
important to put the language clear.
I appreciate it. I thank you very much for that clarification and acknowledge it as accurate too. Yes, Emily, please, Chief Cobb.
As I was rereading this, it might be something the committee wishes to discuss, but this is essentially a twofold motion. The first part of it is to not appropriate the 50,000, and then the second part of it is to raise the appropriation in the operating budget by 5,000. So perhaps the committee might like to discuss taking those in whole or in part, But if a committee member wants to vote no on 50,000, but yes on 5,000, it just doesn't, perhaps you might want to take it as two separate if
Okay,
there's,
that's a great insight, and we'll do that as we get to the voting process.
Charlie,
Yes.
it was motioned as one motion. It was
Yeah.
seconded as one motion.
Yeah.
We've discussed it as one motion. We should vote on it as one motion.
Okay, agreed.
and you could then do another motion if you would
We could.
wish to take that separate. But just,
We can
Yep.
amend the motion.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, having no further comment input at this time, I'd like to move to motion 4.
So move.
Second, please. Second by whom? Kim, please move the microphone closer to you. Press the green button.
Second by Kim Ilg.
Okay. All right, we have a second. So the motion, I would defer to Mr. Boda, please, for
Okay.
representation.
With pleasure. I feel very strongly about this. I've been in public service now for 50 years. The number one, the primary, the absolute apex of government service is to preserve, protect human life, to protect property, to instill economic vitality. And what we have here in the recession, the proposed recession of a permanent full-time of the fire department is something that I find unacceptable. And I'm doing that because I'm saying that because at this time, the New London Fire Department is experiencing a demographic landslide. If you look at their staffing, for example, I don't know how many of you have had the motion in front of you. 1987, 34 members of the New London Fire Department, 34 lived in town, 30 worked in town. In 2026, out of 35 people, 17 live in town and only 11 work in town, and only 2 out of the 10 officers live in town. Younger people are not volunteering. And if you saw on Main Street recently, the fire department carried an extensive and vigorous training campaign, and they got basically no results. And that is because young people, the demographics today, young people are busy, they're raising families, they have to work 2, sometimes 3 jobs. And as a result, volunteering has to take a second place to raising a family and seeking economic survival for their families. In addition to that, the fire department is going to likely, out of 35 people, when you look at the expected attrition, and this is my own research, we're looking at the possibility of 4, 5, 6 members of the fire department either exiting or retiring. And some of the exits are due because of one of the intricacies of a volunteer fire department is the fact that the fire department on a volunteer basis serves as a stepping stone for younger people to get their experience and go to a higher paid position somewhere else. And that has been the reality in a lot of the New London Fire Department. Some of the folks, they volunteer, they get experience, and they get hired somewhere else. What that is doing, consider when you lose 20% of your force and you are saying that you're not going to replace perhaps the only thing that is going to making a difference. It's in my opinion unacceptable. The bottom line in this is for our own financial well-being as residents of this town is that the money that would be spent or that would be in the budget for the procurement of a permanent full-time is probably going to cost us what, $5 in our taxes. However, if we have a fire department that does not have the appropriate staffing, what we're going to end up occurring is that the ISO rating for the town is going to go down. There are 10 steps for ISOs, a lot of it, and I have supporting documentation in there. A lot of it depends on the staffing and the vitality of a particular fire department. If we take just one little step down in the ISO rating, that means up to 15-20% increase in each one of homeowners' home insurance rates. So you're telling me that I'm going to save $5 in my residence taxes, but I'm going to be paying $250 a year in insurance rates. I don't find that palatable at all. So for that and for many reasons, I would like to see this rescission eliminated.
I offer comment and deliberation from the, oh, we had a second, I thought. I'm sorry.
Oh, did second?
Yes,
Lindsay Lund, second.
I second.
Oh, Kim second.
Tim seconded it. Sorry. Screwing me up. Yes.
Yeah.
John, do you want to comment, please?
I have a question. So and this may seem unrelated, but it is. So I'm thinking about the moment where if we approve this and we went with the selectmen to reconcile, what does that mean? And what's the difference between that and this motion coming up from the floor at town meeting? I'm just sort of like trying to figure some things out here about how it would go, and I'm not sure who to ask, how to ask, or I've got questions. How does this process work, which actually will inform me as to how I vote?
I think the way it would work is,
Could you identify
oh,
yourself,
sorry,
please?
BB Casey.
And please be seated and be comfortable.
Okay. We could talk this through, John, but I think if the budget committee passes this motion to put the $115,000 back in the budget, and then we have our reconciliation, and either we agree or we don't agree. I'm hoping we can reconcile and we have one budget number, but that's a separate issue. But let's just say we don't. The budget committee puts their budget number forward. The selectmen will put their budget number forward. And then if those pass, I think the person, whoever is going to put the petition warrant article on for town meeting, can then withdraw their petition, because then it's not necessary, I think. But you know what, though? I'm not a lawyer either, so.
I think we will likely know, the reconciliation meeting will determine whether or not there is a petition warrant article
Okay.
or not.
Okay. You're still.
Are you
figuring it
okay
out.
with that?
No,
And
in my experience, we have had two different, we've gone to town meetings
With two different.
with
numbers.
two different numbers, and the voters have decided which one.
I also just want to clarify the dollar amount. Lynn, do you?
Yeah, it's actually 145,000. It's not 110 or 115. It's 145.
Then I amended to 145.
Thank you.
Question? Lynn, could we have the breakout of that number, please? What the 145, how it goes across the budget? Thank you.
I can try.
All right, while Lynn is doing that, we have a motion to amend this motion that would now read that the New London Budget Committee restore an amount of $145,000 for the fire department for the purpose of hiring additional full-time employees.
Point of order, I think if I made the motion, I can amend it.
Go ahead then.
Then I did.
Oh, you didn't state the amount, so.
Yes, I said 145.
All right.
Although additionally, once we vote on the 145, if the 145 doesn't pass, we then have to vote on the 115, don't we? We have to vote on
No.
both motions?
No, because I amended the motion.
No, we seconded the first motion and now you're amending it. We vote on the amendment, then we vote on the motion. So we have to vote on both. That's the way that goes. in
Okay,
Robert's
where's the
Rules
town
of Order.
moderator?
Ding, 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 ding.
That's the thing. That's how you do it.
Absolutely.
I'm
Okay.
sure there are
You ready?
parliamentary experts, but I'm gonna accept that we will have two motions. We will then vote on each at the end of our deliberations. One motion is the initial.
You vote on the amendment first. If the amendment passes, you don't need to vote on the first one.
Yeah.
If the amendment fails, you then vote
Right,
on the
but-
first one.
Right, and we'll do that at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So
Lynn,
the actual total is 142,718.42. Ready? Base wage, $80,130.96. Social Security is $1,161.90. The medical is going to be $35,477.04 because we budget for a family. Dental, $1,632.60. Again, we budget for family. New Hampshire retirement is $23,358.17. Long-term disability, $217.96. Life insurance, $201.93. Accidental death and dismemberment, $19.23. Life insurance for spouse, $13.80, and short-term disability, $504.83. And I can print that out and send it to you guys if you'd like.
Charlie, I have a question.
okay. Meg,
Does this motion, you mentioned the 25,000 included for training, but does the motion adjust any of that, or does that remain? Is that included as part of it?
In my opinion, it would, well, do we have to make a separate motion that if we end up approving this 145?
no,
we
the
don't-
current select board budget includes $25,000 allocated for a number of different things that I'm not going to enumerate. So that's already there.
So we
This
need
is
to
an
make a,
addition to that budget of this amount we've just stated.
so to address the 25,000 that was added,
There is a motion number 5 that is coming that is going to address that I know we've all read. So
thank you.
I think
It's not
that
within
will
this-
address that.
It's
but it
not
is
within this
not
one. Thank you.
In this one. Cynthia Roustas, you okay on this?
I believe so, but if the number is 142,718 and change, does the motion have to reflect that exact amount, or do we stick with 145?
We'll stick with the exact amount as noted by the finance officer of the town. And we will present a motion, a second motion, but Lou would have to now change it to 142,718 from the 145. Would you be all right with that, Mr. Boda? Okay, so I'm making that notation now. Thank you, Cynthia.
I do have a question.
Okay, Karen, question.
Yes, my question has to do with another piece of the fire department payroll, and this had come up back in early November.
All right, speak into it,
Yes,
please.
back in November, I believe, when the initial presentation was made to the budget committee, there was a question asked about overtime.
Yep.
And there was a memo or note to the chair of the budget committee from the chief that there could be an implication on overtime, and that this new FTE could indeed may increase overtime. So I'd like to get that clarified as to any dollars that we should be considering in this motion for overtime.
Okay. My understanding is the following, that the overtime discussion between myself and the chief and others has been that the contention I made was, why would overtime increase if you were going to add a full-time equivalent. And subsequently, the chief responded with a method of calculation reflecting that. My conclusion at the end of receiving it and looking at it and analyzing it, I still am stuck with the same question, but that was the answer. And that was the rationale given at that point in time. So that's just my understanding of overtime at the present point. If there was not a full-time firefighter added, what I don't believe, Chief Lyon, we did discuss was, would overtime be less as a result?
Potentially.
So
Jay Lyon, New London Fire Chief. So a firefighter covers 2,184 hours on an annual basis. There are 8,764 hours in a calendar year. That leads times that people are not on shift when various calls come in. We don't schedule when an emergency comes in. So there's approximately 6,000 plus hours in a calendar year that an event may happen that someone may come in off duty. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime someone comes in off duty, so we had an electrical fire today. Not to pick on Brandon, but Brandon Adams was off shift today. He responded back for that electrical issue, and therefore you'd be compensated at an overtime rate. The more firefighters that you have, the more overtime you're going to have in a small organization like ours. There are some organizations, the City of Lebanon, one of the justifications for hiring additional full-time people is that it actually, to your point, Charlie, it actually reduces overtime because you're having less people come back because you have sufficient staffing levels. We do not have sufficient staffing levels. That's the issue that we're faced with.
Okay.
So overtime is based upon the time that they're off
factors.
shift coming back.
So it's fair to say, without getting into the minutia, that overtime will increase at some rate as reflected in the overtime budget that has been submitted due to the fact that we're adding a full-time officer.
That is correct.
Second question I have is, we were predicating financial forecasts in these discussions based on the receipt of a SAFER grant. What is the status?
We were not recipients of that grant. Only one department in the state of New Hampshire, which was the Plymouth Fire Department, I believe, was the recipients.
Okay.
I also just want to make a clarifying statement that it might be obvious, but potentially it's not. Our full-time firefighters are hourly employees. They are not salaried, which is why they are eligible for overtime.
Assumed.
I think we have two that are hourly and one that is
correct.
salaried. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Karen?
So, excuse me, for this motion to be comprehensive and reflect all the relevant budget lines, should an overtime component be included? Because what we've just heard from Lynn, it's base salary and payroll expenses. There's nothing for overtime.
So with the hourly, looking at what Lynn has, I'm thinking that that's probably higher than what we had discussed, but nevertheless, there's some things, for instance, my departure from the department, that will leave some monies available. And also just looking at the general, as we have less call members respond, your part-time employees, there potentially are funds within our allotted budget that would be able to be used to modify that overtime line item. Again, we don't know when calls are coming in. It's certainly a guesstimate as far as our overtime, and then reflected on an annual budget, looking at the true actuals.
Okay. It's, Rich, I don't want to speak for the select board and your representation of this issue. What I will say at this juncture is that is my understanding that the select board decision was to pause for a year and take a look at a variety of different options and issues related to fire services that extend beyond simply the addition of one FTE, and it's contextual to surrounding towns, it's contextual to mutual aid, it's contextual to looking at regionalization and other factors. Chief Lyon and I talked. I asked the question of him at one moment in a meeting. We had 926 calls in FY with 25. And
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that was calendar year 2024. For 2025 calendar year, there was 1,100.
okay,
Over. Yeah.
okay,
that's
just
correct.
over. And it is my understanding that within those calls, we were able to respond to all of the calls.
That is correct.
And we
However-
did not, and then please respond, and that we did not have compromise in our apparatus or personnel in responding to those calls.
Are we meeting the NFPA standard for 1720 for response? We are not.
Okay,
What the New London Fire Department does, to reference back to that 2020 or 926 calls, the majority of those are handled by our on-call officers
Right.
or daytime duty personnel. The challenge that we have, and to Lou's point with the younger individuals, I'm really proud to say that today we just had a conditional offer made to Connor Heath, one of our lieutenants, and the individual that covers for every single lieutenant, captain, myself that can't fill a shift. Last year, I'm not sure how many weeks, a couple weeks, maybe 80 hours, 90 hours that I lost because I couldn't take time off. We don't have sufficient personnel to deal with the day-to-day operations. The full-time people, the reason why we have full-time people is to make it as easy as possible for our part-timers, our volunteers, right? Everyone says volunteers, they're part-time employees.
Yep.
To be affiliated with the New London Fire Department, for better or for worse. And so the majority of those calls, 138 of them out of the 926 last year or
Yep.
the year before.
Yep.
700 and change were handled by a single person or the duty crew. So that's the issue. If you have a fire alarm activation, a single person shows up unless it's smoke in the building, and then it goes from there. So are we handling calls sufficiently? That's if you talk to the retired New Hampshire State Fire Marshal, he would say absolutely not. His expectation would be an engine company comes with a full complement of firefighters. We don't do that in an effort to actually maintain a volunteer force or call part-time force.
okay. Let me interrupt you and ask you this question. Your professional assessment, what is the risk on a scale of high, medium to low to the town for delaying an appropriation of money for an additional FTE till next fiscal year? High, medium, or low?
I do not ask for anything that the fire department does not need. We ask for things that are needs, not wants. And so if we didn't need it at this time, I would say you could defer it. My concern is I'm just trying to pick my words carefully so
Right,
I
but
don't put
don't be
myself
too
in a predicament.
You're already in a
The-
pickle. Come
the-
on.
the-
We're there together.
Let's put it this way. By deferring,
Mhm.
since I'm the individual that is making the recommendation to the Board of Fire Wards, they're moving along to the Select Board. I think there's maybe a thought that there may be a differing opinion or some other magic wand that could be waved in order to fix the crisis that we have. There is not. So what you're doing by deferring is no different than any other thing, whether it be maintenance, whether it be whatever the case is, you're putting yourself another year behind. When I proposed the plan to the Board of Fire Wards, when we looked at stuff, we needed 3 full-time people last year. In order to make it palatable for us from a fiscally responsible standpoint, we phased it in. However, we requested through our grant for 3 full-time people. Then when that other position was approved, then we modified it to 2. There are concerns with individuals with only one person responding to calls. I think that as the town of New London transitions, we're facing a crisis. And again, this does not benefit me as I'm transitioning out. I'm looking to protect everyone else. I'm looking to provide services. And so in my professional opinion, not that it would be detrimental, because we will still respond, right? Our job is the customer service. When a call comes in to respond to the call, we don't not respond to calls in an effort just to make a point or to say that our services aren't needed or wanted. So would it be detrimental? I think it's setting ourselves up for failure, or it's setting you guys up for failure.
Okay.
That's what it's
Thank
doing.
you. Thank you.
Chief, can I just, sorry to
Go ahead.
interject. Can you just explain a little bit for the folks in the room what the duty crew is? Because you've said that a few times, so I'm not sure that everyone is aware on what that entails.
So to Lou's point, the majority of our employees work outside the town of New London, where 30, 40 years ago, the majority of them worked in town. So when I was hired in the late 80s, there was a crisis back then because we had people not responding to calls. And so it was a handful of individuals. And so the duty crew would be the full-time individuals Monday through Friday. We had hoped with the second shift officer's position that we would be covering 4 nights in a row of on-call status, and then we would need only the 2 other full-time positions, one being the one that's proposed this year, to cover then 75% of the nights. So the duty crew currently is working Monday through Friday when everyone else is at work. What we found when I was first hired, I covered from 8 in the morning until 5 at night. Our calls statistically are from 6 until 11. That's the majority of the calls. When people are awake, that's when things are, people make bad decisions, statistically. Now, statistically, there are more bad incidents after midnight, and whether it be fires or whatever the case is, because during the daytime hours, we responded to a stovetop fire today. Someone's going to smell it. Their fire alarm's going to go off. They can extinguish that fire more quickly than at night when the fire develops at a greater rate undetected. So our duty crew, full-time people, and then certainly we're in the process of vetting some people next week through the hiring process. We are fortunate that for the last 27 years of my career, full-time here in New London, we've had a really, really strong, vibrant call force. However, it's been supplemented by individuals that have really, really stepped up. And certainly looking at the live-in program, and I don't want to reiterate what I've already said publicly. You guys have heard me. So if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think it's been very well vetted. Certainly Lou brought up a good point. I didn't even contemplate the ISO rating and what that's based upon. Currently, we're a 5.5Y. By hiring additional full-time people, not only could potentially, if we don't hire individuals and we have longer response times and we have crisis or shortages of our call members, yes, our insurance rates may go up, but by hiring additional full-time people, the insurance may go down. So it might not only be a cost, a whack of $250, but on the other side, you may actually save, you may spend $5 or let's say $10 per household, but you may actually save $250. So that's the other side that I didn't even think about.
And taken. Lou, your representation of $5, that's the annual cost represented. So it's not $5 a year.
It's really $5 on a.
It's $5 on what?
You gotta have like an average tax property bill and then, yeah.
Is that per 100,000? Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Just want to be clear. The other is that insurance, I haven't seen my insurance costs go down ever. But that's just my probably own experience. I think those arguments are additional considerations certainly, but not necessarily the driver of the decision. In my view, it's not.
Well, for the taxpayers, yes, because you're gonna face the taxpayers. We're gonna face the taxpayers and tell them we're saving you $10, but you're gonna pay $250 on your insurance bill.
Possibly, but
Yeah, and I think we just need clarity in if that's $5 or $10 total, or is that 5,000?
Okay, let's query the figures. The other item is the idea that by delaying is going to make it easier. By delaying, all we're doing is making it worse. The problem is still going to be there. There was a statement made that perhaps another fire chief may have a different overarching policy, but let's put it this way: according to the RSAs, the overarching policy for a fire department is just made by the fire wards, and I think the fire wards tend to be fairly united in this position. And if it's possible, if we could,
I can speak
Steve?
to that.
Go ahead.
So,
I'd be
Steve,
happy to acknowledge you, Steve.
Thank
Steve
you.
Ensign, please.
Steve Ensign, the chair of the Board of Fire Wards. And the plan which we are in the process of implementing was put together thoughtfully. And it included the addition of 4, what we call shift officers. And to do it over a period of 4 years, to add them thoughtfully. We are in the midst of that at the moment. This would be the 3rd individual that would be joining us on a shift position. Things have changed dramatically in the delivery of service, and we've watched that happen. We presented to the prior boards of selectmen who supported this effort. And of course, selectmen's change and budget committees change. And that's a fact which we now find ourselves as the fire wards needing to address. So we have to keep going on the plan. The funding of it comes from a different source. So we will continue to put forward this plan because we want to be on record for the town of New London, for the townspeople who put us in place as the Board of Fire Wards, that this is the best alternative for the return of service to the town. Now, others can make those choices from a financial perspective, but the Board of Fire Wards is going to be going on record saying this should be done. And it could turn out to be that it is done by a warrant article. Personally, I would much rather see it achieved through the Budget Committee and the selectmen in their reconciliation meeting agree that this additional individual, and in turn the next, is necessary to provide the service to the town of New London that our taxpayers have come to expect.
Thank you. Other comments,
I have a question.
please?
Lou, would your motion want to adjust then for the incentives that have been, that are already in this, in these, in the recommended budget we got from the Board of Selectmen?
What do you mean? Excuse me.
There's I believe,
25K in incentives?
right, would your,
I
motion
would be
address that?
willing to, and I would be willing to amend to whatever we need to do in order to maintain that permanent full-time position.
Okay, so that's a second, that's another motion that will follow this motion. It's a
Okay.
different, it's different motion. Okay,
Okay.
so Rich Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Lou, one of the things you mentioned is,
Richard, could I get you to move closer to the mic? It's really hard to hear you.
one of the things you mentioned, Lou, is the last statement you made is you said, causing a likely downgrade in the town risk rating may raise the average homeowner insurance premium over $200. What do you base when you say likely downgrade?
It's my research showed that for each downgrade, the homeowners, the residential and business homeowners insurance rate goes up,
Right.
15%.
I'm talking about specifically the word likely. You say it's a likely downgrade in the town risk rating.
That's what, what I read was that a downgrade in ISO will likely trigger when the algorithms for like USAA and Prudential and Allstate combine to fix your insurance rate will likely go up.
No, that I understand. But I mean, in terms of, do you have examples where in the town of New London, we have seen that downgrade occur, or people have been told it's imminent?
Well, in where in the town of New London have we said no to a firefighter request? Of course not. Neither of them have happened before.
Right. So, I mean, to give you an example, last month, literally last month, I redid my own insurance. The good folks at Amica said, we need 5 minutes. We need to look at where your house is located because you're right at the perimeter of the town next to George's Mills. We need to examine how that looks based on, the fire company, et cetera, et cetera. They came back 5 minutes later. They said, everything looks good. You'll get the highest rating in terms of the fire company, et cetera. So my question is, absolutely, I completely agree with you that a downgrade in that risk rating would be problematic in terms of what we would see as our premiums. But my question is, do we have any examples where anyone has had that occur or where it's been threatened? Are there any examples?
No, because there hasn't been a downgrade in New London since in time immemorial.
Right. But in other words, we're talking about concerns about the level of staffing that we have currently. And we've been told by the chief that it's a crisis. What I'm wondering is, if it is a crisis, how come we aren't all nodding our heads in agreement that we've been told the fire company has been downgraded and therefore our...
Because the issue has come to light recently. So,
okay. Lindsay, before I go any further, I think you want to interject something.
I'm just saying, I know just historically in Eastman, this was an issue in which they basically park a truck or a tanker to have, a closer vicinity to the people within the Eastman community for insurance reasons. Am I correct, Jay? So yes, it does affect insurance rates, and that was a catalyst to Eastman making such decisions there.
Right. And I'm in agreement.
Well, you wanted an example. I'm just trying to give you one.
No, but the
Yeah.
example that I'm looking for, what I'm eager to hear is whether or not anyone has an example where they've been told your insurance is going up because of it. Now, certainly, as we go forward, these concerns, as they become more and more serious, et cetera, there's absolutely that potential. But it's when you say a likely downgrade, it suggests that it's imminent, that we've gotten word that all of our insurance rates are going up.
Likely doesn't mean imminent. I didn't say imminent. I said likely.
Right.
Likely is sometime in the future. It does not say imminent. Don't put words in my mouth, please.
No, I'm not trying. I'm using the words that you use, which was likely. And
Likely.
that's so without beating that thing to death. The other issue is that we have roughly 2,700 households, if I recollect, and Will, if I'm wrong, but roughly ballpark 2,700 households, correct? 2,700 taxpaying units. Okay. And out of those 2,700, when I divide it by roughly 142,000, it works out to be approximately $52 per year, not $5, approximately 52. Now, I would suggest for many of us, we can afford $52. But I would also suggest there are countless examples. We've, gone over this, and again, I'm concerned that I don't want to belabor it. There are countless examples where we would make our police department better. Let's add 2 police officers. It's a better police department. Let's add 3 firefighters instead of 2. It's an even better fire department. Let's add 2 more librarians. It's a better library. More people can get serviced, et cetera. The concern that I have is that $52 here, which that is in perpetuity, because I don't see any potential that we would ever reduce the fire department staffing. Every time we do this with every single department, it adds up. And so in other words, when we say things like it's only $5 per year, that's just not accurate. We have roughly 2,700 taxpaying units, and there's no way that $5 per unit is going to come up with that kind of money, the $142,000 that we need. So that's why, I remain, in opposition to this, because we have seen an overall budget in our town go up 10% per year for the last 5 years now, and actually longer than that, but just looking at recently. And that's what my concern is this idea that ultimately it is unsustainable. It makes this town more expensive for people to live in. It makes it more and more a bastion of only the wealthy can afford to live in a town like this. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that cutting or reducing or, keeping these increases under control is going to be the panacea that's going to make suddenly everybody can afford to live in New London, New Hampshire. I don't think that for a moment, but it certainly makes a difference. And we cannot.
Can anybody else? Yes, jump in.
Just a minute. Yes,
Okay.
please, Kim.
Well,
Speak into the microphone.
with all due respect, nobody's lives are being saved by a librarian. So I don't think that's apples to apples in a comparison.
Okay, thank you.
May
I,
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
please.
We are the only organization in the town of New London that operates professionally with part-time individuals that are volunteers. The library isn't asked to say, can you volunteer your time? The police department, no doubt, isn't asked to volunteer your time. We are. And so there is no leverage that the fire chief has, the officers have over our call-in volunteer individuals. The strength of the New London Fire Department is the strength of the town of New London supporting us. And overwhelmingly, to your point, Rich, yes, taxes have gone up. We have fantastic facility. We have great apparatus. We have wonderful, wonderful individuals that have participated and continue to participate with the New London Fire Department. What we're trying to do is maintain a minimum level in order to provide adequate services. And certainly to your point with Lou, you're right that the numbers may be slightly off, but we are the only department that operates, for all intents and purposes, with a primarily volunteer organization.
Point made and noted. Thank you.
If I could just respond briefly,
Please.
Kim.
Yes.
Kim, first of all, my apologies for going on too long. But secondly, I'm not suggesting for a moment, I'm not comparing librarians to firefighters to police officers. Everyone has their role to play. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is the overall growth of our budget and the fact that if our criteria is simply that it makes any one of our departments better, then we would simply hire many, many more people.
I don't feel like that's what's being presented here. I don't feel that it's just making a department better. I feel like it's making the safety of our town on a long-term basis better. And that to me is a completely different situation.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, sir, I was hoping to speak, and I think I may have a perspective that hasn't been
Please.
given.
And
My name is Charlie Giles. I'm a 49-year resident here in New London, and I love this place. Everything I am, everything I have, I owe to this community and the teachers and the friends and the coaches and the mentors. So yeah, I get a little choked up when I talk about this place because it means so much to me. Recently retired, been talking to the chief for 30 years about joining the fire department. You should know that when my wife and I left active duty, we chose to bring our children here to raise them. Now, certainly a large part of that was the school system because I received a spectacular education. I really didn't appreciate the education I got here until I left and was able to apply it in the world and be successful. But a large part of that, and although I am an enormous proponent of the New London Police Department and our public works and all of the fine service we get, this is about the fire department. And I want you to know, I would not presume to speak on behalf of the fire department. I, Lou, am the most recent probationary candidate firefighter in New London, and I will celebrate my 63rd birthday in May, and I'm very proud to be here and very grateful for the opportunity. Now, that having been said, now that I could go away, I traveled for a living, sleep soundly when I was on the road because I knew the town of New London had my back. My wife, my kids, they were safe. If anything happened, they were protected. Okay. And having joined the fire department, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity because I've always wanted, I'm a big believer in paying forward your blessings. And been given that chance, and I'm grateful. Now, having been inside the tent now, I think I can offer you a perspective that maybe hasn't been brought to your attention. Listen, I'm a fiscally responsible guy. I balance my checkbook 3 times a day. I watch budgets like a hawk. If I have to pay a nickel more in taxes, I want to know why. So I get that. I get that. But I want you to understand, I was a 21-year naval officer, and I don't know if any of you have ever been in a position where when you left and kissed your wife or your husband goodbye on a given day that you didn't know with 100% certainty that you were coming home that day, because I used to do that for a living and I understand what that means. And to have an effective unit, okay, like a volunteer fire department, you need that leadership, that continuity, that knowledge, that direction, that rock solid base that the full timers provide. You cannot do without that. You cannot. I realize that we have to put monetary amounts and values on these things, but as somebody who did this for a living in the Navy for 21 years and is now in a position where I see these magnificent human beings running into buildings that people are running out of, and they will continue to do that regardless of how much money you hand them. These are not people who are going to say no. They will do it anyway. But anything that you can do to increase their chances of coming home and increase the chances that the customer is happy with the product and their family is all safe and we have protected their property, I think we need to look at it in that direction. This is not a pure dollar and cents issue. This is right and wrong. Okay? These guys are still going to do the job regardless of how much money you do or don't give you. But I cannot emphasize, as a brand new person in the fire department, brand new firefighter, of which I'm enormously proud, I cannot begin to tell you the value that I place on full-time leadership, the experience, the knowledge base, the direction, the training These guys do all of these things on top of their regular jobs. And we've got some spectacular human beings that come in part-time and they do jobs and they come in and do chores even when they're not getting paid, because they know if they don't do them, the full-timers are going to have to do them at the end of an already busy day where they may have done a dozen calls where little old ladies are terrified because their fire alarm is going off or the smoke detector is going off. And not only do they go out there and they fix the alarm, they reassure that individual and they make them feel safe in the community, which is what they do. So to purely look at this as a dollar, and I realize you're a budget committee, it's what you do. I get that. But you hear one side, this is what we need. Well, how can you prove we're going to be less effective or more effective? I'm here to tell you that there are intangibles inherent in this situation that must be considered. And that is, there is no substitute for leadership. There is no substitute for setting an example and doing the training and making sure that when you say, go in that fire and help those people, that you are maximizing the chances of those people who, oh, by the way, are volunteers going home to their wives and kids. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comments. Much appreciated. I want to move along.
Can I just?
Please,
Charlie?
Bibi, go ahead.
Okay. It's a hard act to follow, Charlie Giles, believe me. But this is BB Casey again. I just want to give my perspective because it's different from what Rich was saying. I didn't make this decision over trying to reduce the budget. I made this decision because, first of all, our fire department is so valuable in this town. I don't think anybody would hesitate to say otherwise. My position was this is a time of transition right now with our fire department, and there's a lot of things happening in our region with other towns around us. They're having to cover a lot of towns, and other towns are covering us as well. So I just felt like this is a time to take a little bit of a pause. Let's have a discussion regionally and within our town, and especially where we're going to go through a transition in our leadership this year. We might have new, fresh ideas coming in. We've just had a new superintendent start in the district, new, fresh ideas coming in. We have a new town administrator, new, fresh. So this is an opportunity for us just to, and Jay's rolling his eyes at me, but that was the position that I was coming from. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you for doing so.
Bibi, I appreciate your comment tonight. I will say, however, since we've been living here, I have seen postponement and postponement. We're postponing the new police, the concept of a new police station. We're postponing the council. Now we're postponing, we want to postpone the hiring of a vitally needed firefighter. How much longer are we going to postpone until it comes and bites us in the derriere? And I'm saying that as a 22-year Air Force veteran, having seen a flight in front of mine, 9 ship, one of the airplanes, wings folded, and 9 people died because of deferred maintenance. Stop the deferred maintenance. Stop the needless, postponement of vitally needed assets for this town, and let's do the job.
Okay, so noted, Lou. Thank you. Lindsay, and then we're going to move on.
Sure.
Unless there's any urgent input.
I need 5 words or less.
I'm counting.
You know what? I rescind. I'm glad that Charlie had a chance to talk. Thank you.
Okay. Is there other public comment? Ma'am?
Is this mic on?
It is.
My name is Valerie Burns. I'm a resident. I'm not here to comment on this issue, but I can't help it. I'd like to know how many of you have lost a home and perhaps lost the life of a child of yours to a fire. Decreased coverage is a terrifying term for me. I'm a mother of 6. 4 of my children either are actively or have been first responders. I have a daughter who is a wildland firefighter in the Northwest. I have a son who is a captain in a fire department in Western Pennsylvania. I have another son who was trained as a volunteer firefighter, they all were, and as an EMT, who is now a Marine Corps captain who flew a squadron of FA-18s out in San Diego. He knows leadership. They all know leadership. They all know the power of leadership and the necessity for it. in order to be volunteers, to be effective, to remain true to their calling. It's a calling, it's a passion. They do it because they have to. They run into the buildings, and I've watched them. There have been flashovers. One of my sons nearly lost his life, not once, not twice, 3 times. This is not an issue that should be discussed on budgetary economic terms. This is an issue of life and death. Mr. Giles, I applaud you. I applaud everything that you said. And I have to say, please speak from your heart. Imagine running back into a burning building to try to save your child because response times have been slowed. Imagine that, if you possibly can. God help you. I hope it never happens to you. It happened to me, and I couldn't help but speak up.
Thank you for your comments. Any other input that would like to be shared at
Charlie,
this item?
could I just make one comment?
Please.
Steve Ensign again. And it has to do with delaying a year in the thought that, yes, the fire wards are going to be interviewing and running a position for the next fire chief. Individuals that I'm aware of at this point, from an in-house basis, support the current plan. I don't believe that waiting a year is significantly going to change, except dollar-wise, perhaps, the plan. The plan was conceived over a few years. And so suddenly, 2 years into a 4-year plan, we're saying, well, let's wait. For one part, it's dollars. For our part, on the fire wards, it is a delay that I wouldn't say it's unacceptable, but it's really disappointing for those of us who have spent time and energy and effort to put this together thoughtfully, reviewed it with the Board of Selectmen in past years, and got the support we needed. Now things change. The fire wards, elected by the town, appointed by you people, the selectmen, need to keep going on that path, and we will continue to do so. If not funded, it won't be on our shoulders that it didn't get funded.
I want to piggyback on that. Not all of us are new, and I'm one of the younger ones. I've been here the whole time. I hear you, Steve. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to move on. Thank you all for your input. We will vote on this motion at the end of our discussion on the remaining motions. All right, everybody, here we go. This is motion, what I have numbered motion 5, and it pertains to the fire services budget. And the motion proposes to reduce the fire department conferences and training line item by $20,000, resulting in a total appropriation of $12,200. Karen, you were kind enough to present this. Would you offer the rationale? And then we'll open it for discussion.
Yes, and a lot of what is contained in this motion, I think we heard expressed in the previous discussion. Serving on the budget committee, we get one presentation in the season, usually November, when a department comes forward and talks about what their requests are and what's going on with the department and what they'd like to see going forward. It's very hard to be fully informed or to make a fully informed vote with regard to that budget, particularly one that becomes controversial. In this case here, we have contrasting opinions, one from the fire wards, which we value greatly, their expertise, their engagement, the other with regard to the Board of Selectmen. We've heard different views today on what drove their particular position in removing the firefighter position. I'm speaking for myself as a member of the budget committee. This comes forward and we know I have to make a call on how to vote. I heard from the fire wards that the money put into the budget to fund for incentives is not going to solve the problem. It's not a problem of compensation, but it's more a problem of the demographics. So what do I do in terms of being a budget committee member? I honestly can say I've tried to understand the dynamics of the budget. There's a schedule on the reverse, or you see this schedule on the motion that shows changes in the department's budget over the past 5 years. And there has been enormous growth, particularly in the last 2 years, whether it, actual and the proposed for 2027. We had the addition of the FTE last year, which is great, but this is a really big decision going forward. So what I am looking for is more time. And I think the budget committee as a whole could benefit from a longer season where we can, particularly with these complex issues, it has a lot of different dynamics that play into it, whether it be overtime, whether it be part-time, full-time, per diem, you name it. There's a lot of moving parts with this budget. So that is why I made the motion, was to acknowledge the fire ward's view that the incentives that were in place relative to raising the pay rates for certain types, whether on-call or per diem, would not solve the problem. Also recognizing it seemed like a very reasonable thing to offer for those individuals that would be certified for EMT, that we would cover that as a town. It was kind of shocked to hear that we weren't. So we'd cover the firefighter one in the EMT certification. That made sense. So that's why this is kind of a combination motion where it doesn't withdraw the entire 25,000 of incentives. It keeps a piece in there, keeps 5,000 in there for those certifications. So this speaks to my needing more time to fully understand what it is that has been proposed to us. So that was the purpose
Okay,
in the
let me
rationale.
back up again. Forgive me. Karen made the motion. I'm seconding the motion. What I understand you're saying in my words, and please correct me if I am misstating it, that this motion is related to the budget the select board has, which includes $25,000 for the purpose of conferences and training and EMT certifications totaling the 25,000. And that this motion, separate from the FTE discussion we just had, is motioning to remove those incentives, but include the EMT certification. Is that correct?
It was, yes, the incentives that are included in the conferences and training line, which is noted here. Those incentives total 25,000.
Right.
And so this motion was to remove 20,000 of that.
Correct. Okay. Steve Ensign, at a previous meeting, I heard you say that this $25,000 was not necessarily going to solve the problem that we face, and that the FTE increase was of direction that would be more appropriate to solving the greater problem. And that the net cost of taking the 25,000 away was only at that time, $75,000 increase. Am I recounting that correctly?
Give or take, yes.
Give or take, but I just, without dragging you back up to go through
Yeah.
that, that's what I heard at a previous meeting. All right. Other comments, thoughts, committee members first, public second, including Jay, if you have any.
So in the motion, it does say that the Board of Fire Wards opposes the decision of the selectmen's decision of 25,000. Is that true?
Not speaking on behalf of the Board of Fire Wards, but the collaborative group that we had. Yes, so the 25,000 was to be used however we felt fit. The concern that I have is when I do the budget, I do a zero-based budget, and so every item is allocated funds, and therefore I'm somewhat uncomfortable to just arbitrarily receive money for the sake of Yes, no, maybe so. To Karen's point, I do think that compensation for training is important. Just to be perfectly clear, the EMT classes are $2,000 for the class, just under 1850, I think, or 1875 was our last individual who's currently in the class. We don't pay those individuals to attend the classes. They're taking the classes on their own time. So we're paying for the class. We're not paying them to go to the class. So our concern was that, and I applaud Rich for having an idea of putting some money towards an incentive, and certainly I think for full-time people, compensation is really important. For to Charlie's point, he's not doing it for the money. He's doing it for service before self. He's doing it to help out his community or any of our firefighters that actually participate. So that's the important thing. So from my standpoint, I would support Karen's motion, but I'd defer to Steve for any other comments.
I think the
Steve Ensign.
Excuse me, Steve
You're
Ensign
Steve
again.
Ensign, yes, thank you.
You comment about, I think you used the word rejected the funding, that we didn't feel that it was going to solve the problem.
Right, okay.
We appreciated Rich's support, if you will, in trying it. As a matter of fact, he said, well, let's put a sign on Main Street. Well, we did, and that didn't work. We had in the shopper, we had something in the municipal matters. So it for those individuals like Charlie and the others, it's not always about the incremental money there. It's the need to find more regular support. And then for a few dollars to incent somebody to come out at a higher rate to be on a weekend duty call. It's getting the bodies to do it now. We did not feel that it's a few dollars more was going to make a significant difference. So the money was appreciated. Would it be used in a way that was thoughtful and helpful? Yes, but it wasn't going to change that underlying need that another body brings to the surface for the department.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clear? Everybody okay with moving on? All right. I'm moving on to motion 6. I am making the motion. I need a second.
A second.
This motion is the motion that has my wife and I no longer speaking to one another. And my motion, which relates to making adjustments in some of the monies that are presently being allocated to lake associations, is to find areas to offset increases in our operating budget where there are substantial increases. You've already heard about several. An additional area of increases in welfare. Welfare is an obligated statutorial service. I think it's absolutely necessary. It's not about is it needed or not. It is needed, and it is being utilized significantly more. That budget is increased for this fiscal year by $20,000 more dollars, and at the present rate doesn't seem to be lowering in its need or demand. So my question to the committee is, where can we offset some of these increases and understand that these decisions are contextual to the whole? I want more lake hosts. I want better fire services. I want the best of whatever we can get. And my responsibility as a budget committee member is prudent appropriation of taxpayer funds. And I think all of our expenditures are prudent. It's a question of the amount. And nobody wants to take a reduction. Nobody is raising their hand to say, I want to reduce to offset the demands of on the tax rate. Nobody is doing that. Not a soul. So if nothing else, this is principle based. We have to start doing some things somewhere. We provide 316,589, not total, it might math's off by $5,000, but about $315,000 in aid to service organizations, of which several of those are essential. They're absolutely essential. Some of those are essential, but not absolutely. And my contention is in this motion that the lake associations have sufficient operating reserves to support a minor adjustment in their budgets for FY27. And it does not negate the value of what a lake host does, because these reductions are not going to reduce the lake hosts that are staffing our beaches and staffing our boat entry ramps. It is an motion to begin to say and begin to move ever so slightly by a modicum of money to start to figure out where we can find offsets. Comment welcomed. Deliberation as well. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Oh, Karen, I thought did second. Yeah.
I have a question on King Solomon's Lodge. The parking at Elkins is primarily free parking afforded to the citizens of the town, and it's primarily for the for how do you call it? Boat trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or no, what?
No, the parking at Elkins Beach is for the citizens with a beach pass. The King Solomon's Lodge is where the cars
The
with
and the
trailers for
trailers
their boats.
is can either us or they charge for that service?
Very possibly they could, but I don't
And
know
that
that.
way you offset the reduction. I'm just being playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, it's fine to do so.
May I make a public comment? They do also bring a boat washing station and service there, which has beneficial properties there for the lake itself and
Right.
the lake host.
And the motion adjustment doesn't negate the service. It reduces the expense to the town by 1,000. That's all it does.
Well,
Edie?
The agreement with King Solomon's Lodge there's a little bit of a background to it. They used to be exempt from their real estate taxes, and then a couple years ago, they became not exempt anymore. And so they came to us kind of with this agreement of, look, we've been allowing all of these people to park here in our parking lot and not charging anything for it and not complaining about it. Can we come up with this kind of an agreement? So the $6,000 is sort of a wash. It's paying them. It's the same amount that they're paying for the
It's
real
quid
estate.
pro pro.
It's a quid pro quo. Yes,
Okay.
that's what it's.
I'd like
And
to move our discussion on at this
Yeah.
point. There are members of the lake associations that came here to represent. I have received several calls. I have received several emails. I have received several text messages. I will allow John, if you wish to, because you were one of my calls, to represent your position, but I'm then going to make another change recommendation.
Okay, this will be really quick.
Thanks.
I'm John Wilson. I'm on Pleasant Lake. Pleasant Lake lake hosts make about 2,000 watercraft inspections for invasive weeds a summer. They have a collateral job of managing the town boat launch. To date, Pleasant Lake has remained free of invasive weeds. The town has been contributing $7,000 annually to the Lake Host program since 2021 and $6,500 annually previous to that. This past year, the state contributed $2,700, the town $7,000, and the Pleasant Lake Protective Association contributed $12,692.25. As payrolls increase and the state contributions decrease, PLPA picks up more and more of the total cost of the program. We are sensitive to the extreme budget pressures the Budget Committee is dealing with. We are not asking for more, but we are definitely not asking for less. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments publicly that would like to be shared?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. My name is Craig Williamson, and I'm actually a limnologist. I professionally have studied lakes all over the world for 40 years, and I've seen many lakes go down the tubes because of invasive species. And what you are doing here is striking at the heart of the economic backbone of New London, because invasive species will decrease water quality, property values, tax income, and they're essentially irreversible depending on the species. But many of the aquatic weeds are irreversible. Nobody wants to swim through weeds. People will be selling their houses if they're invasive species like that come in. And the front line is these lake hosts. And so it's not a matter of decreasing funding for them. It's a matter of increasing the funding, if anything, because the economic backbone of this community, of this town, think of what this place would look like if we didn't have high quality lakes.
Thank you. Any other comment?
My question, was there a factual reason for the decrease, or it was just
My factual increase,
for example,
decrease.
for lakes?
Yeah, there was an exact algorithm that I arbitrarily looked at the asks and arbitrarily am motioning adjustments. I would also like to note, because I think it's fair to note it, I live on Little Lake Sunapee. I'm married to an aquatic species expert. I get it and I understand it. My position, I already stated. I won't restate it. I will say the lake associations have significant resources. And those resources could be used to pick up a minor adjustment in operating budgets. This is not a negation of lake host programming and the introduction of species as a result of a reduction. It is an adjustment to consider, how do we as a town factor these continuing increases? If there were no resources there, I'm all for funding more. So that's the motion basis that I'm coming from, not the value of a lake host program. And I don't like to be inferred in my commentary of making a motion to make some adjustments that that's my position. It is not. All right, I'm going to make a motion to remove the motion because I don't think it has support. I think the comment I've made relative to the need for us to think about how we're going to adjust our spending as a town has also been made. So I am removing the motion. Thank you. Removed. All right, we're going to move to budget motion 7. And this relates to the Recreation Department. I need a motion for it and a second. What?
I just want to remind folks, if folks are leaving, the doors have locked, so you won't be able to get back in. Yes, BB.
Yeah. I didn't vote. I didn't call a vote.
Can he just withdraw a motion?
I can withdraw a motion.
If he made the motion,
But if it's already seconded?
he doesn't even, no, he needs to be voted on? Okay.
All right, we'll vote on it later. Fine.
yeah.
If you want to go through that, it's fine with me.
Something happened
All
to
right.
the
Yeah.
motion.
All right, we're on motion number 7. I'm losing my energy.
We'll make this quick then.
So I need a motion, which is
Okay.
on 7. Karen's
Okay,
making the
motion here. Okay.
Who is seconding the motion?
Well, I haven't, let me make the motion. The motion is proposed to fund special events through the Recreation Department's revolving fund, reduce the current recommended appropriation for the special events line item noted in the motion, to $1. Background. The 2027 proposed budget for the Recreation Department currently appropriates $12,500 to the special events line item. Some weeks ago, thanks to Lindsay asking a really good question at a budget committee meeting, we learned that the revolving fund, the recreation revolving fund, could be used for a wider set of purposes than it was understood at the time. Lindsay brought the topic up. We had a discussion. Lynn referred back to the policy of the revolving fund and confirmed that it could be used for a broader purpose. So in looking at the Recreation Department's budget, there's a special line item, but currently budgeted for $12,500 for special events. And as it's noted in the budget book, that's for supplies, activities, personnel. One of the things in particular is the Halloween event. To the chair's recent comment on sensitivity toward the ever-increasing budget and the tax rate burden, again, no one's raising their hand to say, okay, you can take 500 or 1,000. I mean, we're going through this budget with a fine-tooth comb, as we should. And it struck me that this is an opportunity to use some funds that benefit the region. We do events here that benefit not just New London residents, but are a great draw for people to come in from other towns. And it just seems to me that the taxpayer of New London can use a break in this regard. That if we have funds available in a revolving fund that could be used for a purpose for activities that draws in the much wider community, we should consider that. There's $31,000 in the recreation revolving fund. I think the overall budget, off the top of my head, is over $250,000. So the town really supports its recreation department. So this is not to be perceived as a sign that it does not, but it recognizes that there is a source of funding that is there available, and it can help relieve the tax burden on the taxpayer. So that was my rationale. Thank you.
Comments, questions?
Yes, if no one seconds it.
Yeah, we need a second.
No, I mean, what if someone does not second
There
the,
is no motion.
okay,
Is my understanding.
that's all I'm asking.
Okay. Do I have a second? Lulu seconded.
No.
Other comments and input?
Yes, then I do have a comment. As a first-time caller, longtime fan. No, I'm just kidding. I was on the rec department for a number of years and now on the budget committee for a number of years. And the revolving fund is a trigger word for me. But after decades of dialogue and understanding, this is my interpretation. The revolving fund is to fund operational expenses. The budget committee does not get to dictate it. Neither did the other group who wanted to control the revolving fund. It is to be used judiciously for expenses such as playground maintenance, replacement, repairs, etc. Don't let the stuff and equipment get into disrepair, so then we need capital improvement to replace things that should just be there. That is what the revolving fund is for. So it is a nice suggestion, but also on Halloween, I will say this respectfully. Hospital days is a whole week, people, and nobody can tell me who's paying that bill. Okay? This is 2 hours for Halloween. Get over it. It keeps the kids safe. My own children almost got run over. We do a drive. It's a great training exercise.
But
okay?
Lindsay, it's a question of funding, not a question of the
I am
event.
defending my position that it shouldn't even be a rec department cost if hospital days and the police cost for that is not recognized somewhere within their own operational budget. I am making a point, and I am making the argument based on my own personal history and well-earned perspective of having sat in these chairs. I deserve this point of order and to make it.
I'm just clarifying.
I
Not
was
disagreeing.
clarifying. I understand. I am discussing back and I'm being efficient with my words because I am very cognizant of the time.
So noted. Other comments, other input?
Yep. Sorry.
Putnam, go ahead, please.
Does anyone from the board want to make other comments before we start?
No.
I have a couple of questions just to clarify because I've just gotten some information that I want to reconcile. Lynn, is there indeed $31,000 in the revolving fund?
There is not. It's
How much is-
27,773 at the moment.
There's
We paid some
27,000.
bills.
So Lindsay just pointed out some uses that where were those sources from? You just read, was that a state law? Was that?
I've sat on the Recreation Commission for 8 or 9 years, and then I did dubious amounts of research when it became about the revolving fund and how it was defined and its permit of use for a recreation department that creates revenue.
It's just a question
Yeah.
about the revolving fund.
Yep.
What can we use the revolving fund for? There's some definitions on the table that I'm not familiar with.
It's at the Recreation Commission's purview and or it's revolving operational costs. So buy a new park bench, buy whatever. It was always and I
Buy
don't-
strawberries for a strawberry fest.
Exactly. Don't charge admission for Strawberry Festival. Keep these rates and expenses low. I'm sorry Halloween got so big.
You know,
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to make sense of what's on the table here. And
Right.
there's some implications to what you're saying. Are you stating that we can't use the revolving money for candy on Halloween? I mean, that's what I heard. That's
Not at
how
all.
I interpreted what you were saying.
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
I just personally view that as a community expense and
Got
not
it.
the recreation department.
So what?
Just wanted to ask.
You're John, what I hear you saying is you're questioning, what is the purpose of use of the revolving fund? And that example is, yes, it can be used for that. And there are other utilizations which are guided by a policy for that particular fund that Lynn distributed to us earlier. I think the motion is suggesting reduce an operating budget, understanding it doesn't replace the expense, but the funding is used from the revolving fund for that purpose in a given year. Yes, Putnam, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, so I am Putnam Kidder. I'm the Recreation Director. I'm joined by Jackie Christensen, who is our Chair of our Recreation
Speak
Commission.
into the microphone, please.
I am Putnam Kidder, and I am the Recreation Director, and I'm joined by Jackie Christensen, who is our Rec Commission Chair. We also had 3 other Rec Commission people here tonight in support of our defending our opinion on this motion. So I just wanted to briefly, Lynn, I have the most recent budget for the rec department at 240. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep, 242, 351.
Okay, because we had said that it was at 250 before. I just wanted to get that
Excuse
exact
me?
number. Yep, yeah, so I just wanted to make sure it was clarified. Just we want to make sure that we.
I think saying 250 was in order of magnitude quite close. So I thank you for the clarification.
Yep. So I wanted to just read a little bit from the rec revolving fund policy. Recreation is an important part of any community, and the town of New London supports the continued efforts to provide numerous recreational opportunities to its citizens, but also encourages self-funding activities whenever possible. The town of New London recognizes the importance of budget-friendly and free programs and activities to the New London community. In an effort to continue to provide such programming, the town is committed to continuing to subsidizing funding of these programs through the recreation operating budget and the recreation revolving fund. So if we were to reduce the special events budget down to $1, the recreation revolving fund will be depleted over time and be unable to keep up with the costs related to hosting all of our events and programs. The Halloween event, which is our largest and most popular, could be impacted which would go against the strong public desire to host the event that led to the addition of the funds to the special events budget. The Recreation Department will need to explore options of increasing costs of programming, possibly eliminating free events, and more frequent fundraising efforts. While we do want to produce revenue to help invest in programs and build the Recreation Department as a whole, too much reliance on the Recreation Revolving Fund will deplete it quickly and limit the necessary investments needed to build the Recreation Department events, programs, and facilities. The possibility of paying for events or other recreation equipment or supplies that would have to come from the Rec Revolving Fund could be added back into the operating budget. And this would contradict the commitment of the town stated in the Rec Revolving policy to fund recreational opportunities with both the Recreation Revolving Fund and the operating budget. So to summarize, prudent and supportive investments in the special events budget combined with growing but not overtaxing the Rec Revolving Fund will facilitate the best path forward for our Recreation Department to continue to best serve our residents and the wider community.
Putnam, thank you for that. What is the annual inflow to the revolving fund on average?
The average, wait, I'm doing the math now. So over the last 4 years, the average net income, so income less expenses, is $5,900.
Thank you. Other comments, questions?
Could I
Karen?
add something, Charlie? I
Please.
think what would be important is with any budget, it's a year by year. As much as we look forward, we also take them year by year. And this would be something that we would watch in terms of the balance between the demand on the operating budget and what would be the demand on the revolving fund. So in terms of that, it's not to say this would be the standard going forward, but as of right now, there's 31,000 there. I looked at the average annual expenditures for special events using 2 years, 2024 and 2025 came in at about $9,481. So there would be some room to absorb that, and potentially a modified approach would be, instead of reducing the budget to $1 for the special event line items, why don't we consider, I would make a motion to make it 5,000. So therefore, the draw on the revolving fund would be reduced by the difference. So instead of 12,000, it would be 12,500, which is what is in the budget right now. Let's say we only want to, we'll make that line item 5,000. So then the draw on the revolving fund would be 7,500. So I would like to make that as an alternative motion to drawing the line item down to $1.
Okay, so the first motion we have to vote on, as I've been reminded frequently, but there's a second motion that would read that the reduction be, or adjustment be made of a total of $5,000.
Yes.
So
So
okay.
Can I just chime in that if we did reduce it, that $5,000 would not cover the cost that we put into Halloween? And I think that if lowering it, we would see the stress on the rest of the system and the overall depletion of the Rec Revolving Fund faster and faster and faster. And we've been building it up slowly over time. And we want to use both the special events money and the rec revolving fund prudently and judiciously, but use them together to best service the community. We've heard a lot about all the things that make this town so great, and I feel strongly that a lot of the events we put on really contribute to the fabric of the community, and we want to try to continue to do those while we can raise money and bring in funds for the rec revolving fund to help reinvest into the rec department, as well as keeping this $12,500 in the special events fund, which helps fund Halloween and other events.
Understood,
well.
but if I want to clarify the math, I think Karen, your second motion is saying fund it with 5,000. We're also saying that the annual average income net is 5,900. So the depletion would be nominal, if any, on the revolving fund, if that budget amount went in at that rate.
Yes, but I think, talking about using the rec revolving fund to reinvest in programs as we need to be able to increase the number of things we do, or to be able to keep something like, and making improvements to the skating rink out of the operating budget. We might want to spend more money out of the rec revolving fund. So we use that as we need to be able to reinvest and really improve the rec department as a whole.
Understood.
So we really don't want to have that number be shrinking to a place where we feel like it's too small, or that we can't be able to grow it. We want to be able to grow it.
Do you have a target in mind that you're seeking to grow it to?
We've just continued to grow it over time, and I think if we were able to get it to another place, maybe then we could look at reducing. If we could get it to a higher level than we have now, maybe we could look at in the future reducing the special events. My main concern is that, not my main concern, but one of my concerns is that we reduce the special events, and then the money that was put aside to fund Halloween is reduced and then put into the rec revolving fund, which is going to draw that down and then affect all our other programs we're going to be doing. I think it's going to be kind of like a trickle down effect.
Okay. And revolving funds are there to be used.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, other conversation on this particular second motion? There's 1 and 2 in this one. Otherwise, I'd like to move on. Everybody in agreement? We are now on motion number 8. I need the motion
I will make the motion. This is a fun motion, I hope.
and a second. I'll second it.
Okay, here's the motion. A motion is proposed to increase the line item for dispatch services. This is in the revenue section of the budget by $39,390 for a new total of $289,390. This is under the line item from, income from departments. The purpose of this motion is to align what's in the budget, what's in the proposed recommended budget, to align with what was approved by the Board of Selectmen at a November Select Board meeting, where they approved the billing for New London's dispatch center to the towns that the dispatch center serves. This amount of the total of $289,000 and change covers services already provided under existing agreements. By updating this figure, it ensures the revenue section of the budget presented to town meeting is accurate, up to date, with the latest numbers. It supports better tax rate estimates and can serve as a reference for the budget committee or others in the event of any revenue variances. So that was the purpose of this motion. Is there a second?
I already seconded
You
it.
did, thank
So,
you.
Further input and discussion?
I would like to know from, since the dispatch services are run by the chief of police, I wonder if this figure is tenable. Um,
I don't,
Can
I'm not sure.
Let me jump in.
that's-
That number that is on this spreadsheet that you provide, I'm going to bill that in March. It'll be paid April or May. So it's going to go into the fiscal year of 26 revenue. We can certainly raise the 250 that I've put in there to more closely align with what we're doing for the previous year. And that's easily done. The reason I stay a little bit more conservative is because I don't know which towns are going to accept. These are not set in stone at this point. They have to go to town meeting, they have to be approved. What I tend to do is if all those towns accept quickly, I can kind of be comfortable that we can raise the 250 a little bit more, that they're not shopping us. So then I can raise that up, but we can certainly raise it at this point. I just wanted to make sure it was clarified that that money is going to be received this year, not 27.
Yep. Thank
Okay.
you, Owen. It would seem that's a reasonable thing to do would be to adjust it. And
What's the risk if we adjust it?
Not much, because honestly, I'm going to readjust revenues before they get solidified for the tax rate. That gets done again in October. So if a town doesn't approve us and drops out, I can drop it back down for the coming year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. There is one last amendment, motion. Lindsay, I think you wanted to bring it forward.
Yeah, but I can very briefly, I don't feel like it's any point of contention or I just wanted to briefly visit. Thank you to the SAU for letting us use this room. And I know Kim is driving right now she has a child who just had surgery, so she's trying to get on Zoom. So I'm stalling here for a second.
Don't.
Yeah. Just technology. I feel that it's not going to go away. And I don't feel that we need to appropriate any additional funding. I think there might need to be a committee or group additional just to discuss as community members, what resources we have available and what might be needed going forward to make the meetings more transparent, more accessible, and that means through Zoom and live streaming. But I did bring, and I want to be brief again. I am also the media services director or manager or something at the college. So I do this professionally, respectfully. And I don't understand this overhead or cost for things that we do at the college daily as well with a laptop. And in the case of Whipple, perhaps a Yeti microphone. It's not that complicated. It's not that complex. We can do all these things with an iPad. Or here's another example. This is a $20 computer Wi-Fi streaming security cam baby camera. These are all more than capable to record live. And then I feel like we should just put the ownership of the task as everyone going forward. It needs to be addressed. It cannot just be whoever the town clerk is who's picking it up, because this advancement and this technology is not going to go away, and we don't need to dismiss it and or pretend we don't need it or it's not wanted, period. I just think we can do better and have very, easy, helpful discussions and move us forward without it being a additional cost to the town or a tax burden.
So noted. And I think for context, we should add that there is discussion within the committee, has been, and it needs to be continued and will, I'm sure, about the ability to have remote access. What statutorily can we do? What can't we do? And there are some nuances to it. But I think there's a commitment to look at it and to pursue it. And as such, I appreciate you bringing it forward. It having no monetary impact on this budget. I think I would like us to, as a committee, defer that
Absolutely.
conversation to a
And
next
again,
meeting.
all grace and credit being paid forward for the systems in which we have and as far as we've gotten to this point. I think it's important we help.
So noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it's 9:00. We're going to try to do this as quickly as we can. And please feel free to jump in as I air myself through this process. We have 2 tally sheets. I am recording one. These are tally sheets for the votes on the motions. Karen has a second tally sheet. We're just going to match them to make sure that we're accurate in the representation of the individual committee member votes on the motion.
Charlie, if I can just interject for a moment, if we can just pause after each one and make sure that Lynn is able to capture what it is, because she's
Yes.
going to need to go make the changes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so we will pause after each motion so Lynn captures any financial impact, because that will be the basis for our for the budget that the budget committee recommends. Bill's left, but I've noted his advice. And secondly, would be used in the reconciliation meeting of January 30th with the select board budget. The first motion is the motion, if I can remind you and refer to the text regarding the capital reserve request for energy projects. And that motion is to increase the capital reserve by $280,000, which is $30,000 higher than the current select board capital reserve amount for FY 2027. And I need now to record your vote. We will start with Rich Anderson. Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Yay for Anderson. Lou Boda. Yay, Boda. Meg Brown.
Yay.
Yay, Meg Brown. Karen Epstein. Nay, Epstein. Kim Elg is absent right now. She may chime.
She actually just joined.
Okay. I'm going to move.
Which one are we voting?
We are voting on the energy capital reserve increasing from 50,000 to 80,000.
Okay.
Number one.
It's number
vote
one.
yay.
Yay, Elg. Kelsey is yay. Chris Lorio is absent. Lindsay Lund,
Yay.
yay. Cynthia Rousas. Cynthia still with us?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yay on that one.
Yay. John Tilley,
Yay.
yay. All right, the yays have it. That's a vote of, well, I won't tabulate the vote, but it is in favor of the motion. Motion number 2. Just a minute. Motion number 2 is to defer a decision on funding the solar array proposal to allow the budget committee to conduct a thorough financial analysis of this and other alternatives to meeting the town's energy sustainability goals. We recognize this may result in foregoing current federal tax rebates. So that's the motion, and I'm happy to take any additional modification or discussion briefly. If there is any, otherwise I would entertain the vote.
No, we should not vote on this. This is the selectman's responsibility. This is not a budget. It's not a budget issue. I mean, when you started out, Charlie, by reading the state statute on what we're responsible for, it said we're responsible for providing a budget. We're not responsible for providing consult on ROI and deferring decisions on funding. That's just not, it's not what we do.
Okay.
Just for
Karen?
For future reference, then, when we entertain discussions on these matters, that should be really clarified to budget committee members.
Well, no, you're voting on you voted on this by saying nay or yay on
I
number
get that,
one.
John, I understand that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking is in terms of when the proposal was presented to us in terms of great detail about the attributes of a proposal that are brought forward to this committee for our deliberation and discussion on, I think there needs to be more clarification than on what comes before us in our role in that.
So that's the reason that when we discussed it, I said, I can't vouch for the veracity of these numbers. Can someone do so? And when I asked that, I got no response. After you utilize that information to then vote on a number, you don't vote on their actions, you're voting on a number. We're the budget committee. We're just,
Right.
you're
No,
confusing,
understood.
you're confusing executive authority with a committee that's presenting a budget.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we can vote on it or not, but I think, John, your recommendation is it's not a motion that has a financial attachment.
It's not in our.
And it's not in the purview of the budget committee. Is there any disagreement with John's representation?
You as the chair can rule a motion not germane.
Well, okay. I'll rule it not germane then at this time. I will make this comment, however, that there needs to be financial rigor put to appropriation requests, and that this is Energy Committee one, which is marvelously debated, done, and represented, is an example of where I think we can do a better job as a whole in terms of how numbers are brought
And
forward.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Like, that is not in disagreement with what I'm saying.
Great.
And I agree with that 100%. Thank
That's
you.
not, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move.
Charlie, can I just ask one quick question? I'm sorry,
please.
Charlie, did you vote on number one yourself?
Yes, I did.
And what did you vote?
Yay.
Thank you.
The motion number 3 relates, the motion is not to appropriate $50,000 allocated for dispatch console. I'm going to say communications because that's the capital reserve title. And I think we heard the debate. So the other part of that motion is to increase, and I think it needs to be 2 motions. The first motion is to not appropriate 50,000 for the console. That initial motion, I forgot who motioned and seconded it, but I will take a vote on that portion of the motion, and then we will go to the $5,000 increase. We have 2 motions. I'm just,
Call it
all right.
B.
A and B. The A is not appropriating the $50,000. Please vote. Rich Anderson.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, this is Emily. Hi, over here. Sorry. I don't know that your vote is to put money toward the dispatch consoles. I think your vote is to put 50,000 in the communications equipment
That's what
capital
I just
reserve
said.
fund.
I just said it's to the communication.
Okay.
CR line item.
I heard that it's for dispatch consoles.
No, I read
Okay.
this and then clarified that it was for communications as noted in the capital reserve document.
Whether put $50,000 in the capital reserves for.
CIP,
communications.
not capital reserve.
I'm sorry to be argumentative. I'm not trying to.
It's not. I also just, want to make sure that the motion is very clear, I guess.
Okay. Does everybody understand the motion or not? You want me to clarify it?
Clarify.
The motion is to not appropriate $50,000 to the communications capital reserve fund.
So a no vote would be to maintain the $50,000.
Thank
Right.
you.
No. Yes. Double negative.
It's a double negative. So if you vote nay,
Oh,
if you vote nay, it means
Yes.
no to the 50,000.
No.
No, it
You're
means
voting to put.
you're
50,000
voting
in.
Yeah.
to put the 50,000 in.
It's to the money going into the operating, excuse me.
It is written in the
capital.
negative, so if you vote in the negative, it's a positive. If you vote in the negative, you only have one negative and it's a negative.
you could always
it's
restate the
basic
motion.
math.
We're not going to restate the motion. We're going to try to get it right. Okay. So if you vote nay, you are voting. Gentlemen, committee members, please, please, please. If you are voting nay, no to this motion, you are saying the $50,000 will remain in the budget. Okay, everybody clear? You okay? Comfortable? Chief, are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Please vote. Rich Anderson.
Anderson votes to have somebody else go first.
This is alphabetical, but Lindsay, would you vote?
No, I recuse myself,
She's recusing, okay?
but thank you.
Okay,
I will vote no.
thank you, John Tilley.
I will vote nay.
Kim Ilg is nay.
Lou Boda votes nay.
Lubota is nay. Meg Brown,
Nay.
nay. Karen Epstein,
Yay.
Cynthia Russos,
Yay.
Chris Laurie was not here. Rich Anderson,
No.
no. Charlie Kelsey is no. All right.
Let me finish, catch up with you. Cal.
All right,
Okay.
the votes are Anderson, no. Boda, no. Brown, no. Epstein, yes. Ilg, no. Kelsey, no. Lund, abstain. Russos, yes. Tilly, no. Moving on to the second motion within this, which is B. No,
I did.
It failed.
the
What?
motion
Right.
did not,
The motion did not.
50,000.
the 50 stays as voted. I'm sorry, I didn't pause. Okay, I got about that much pause left of me. Okay, B portion of this motion is to increase the equipment repair and maintenance line item in the dispatch budget from 15,000 to 20,000, a $5,000 increase. This motion was associated with the prior motion, which was to remove the 50,000 with the understanding additional maintenance monies could be helpful if needed. Point of clarification only. I'm ready for the vote on that motion, starting with John Tilley.
No.
Okay. Cynthia Russos.
Yes means you're for the 5,000.
Okay.
No means you're.
No means you are not for allocating 5,000. Yes means you are. Cynthia Russos.
I'm a little confused because if we haven't changed the 50, why would this even be a question?
That's exactly the point. So,
So no.
okay, thank you. Lindsay Lund,
Abstain.
okay. Kelsey is no. Ilg,
No.
Epstein,
No.
no. Brown,
No.
Boda,
No.
Anderson,
No.
okay, thank you all. We're moving to,
Kelsey.
yeah, we are moving to motion 4. This motion has 2 motions. The initial motion was to restore an amount of $110,000 for the fire department for the purpose of hiring additional full-time employees. That is the motion.
We
are
should vote
voting
on the amendment, which was to increase it to 142,708.
Are we
Then if
voting
that
on the-
doesn't pass, we vote on the first motion. If that does pass, then the first motion is actually dead.
Okay, great. I'm nominating John Tilley for chair of the
No,
budget.
no. Matt
That's another motion. The motion then is, here's the motion, that the New London Budget Committee restore an amount of $142,718 for the fire department for the purpose of hiring additional full-time employees. Is the motion clear to the members?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready to record the vote. Epstein,
Nay.
Ilg,
Yay.
Lund,
Yes.
Russos,
Yes.
Meg Brown,
Yes.
Lou Boda.
Yes.
I never would have guessed that.
Mhm.
Rich Anderson,
No.
no. John Tilley,
Yes.
Kelsey is yes. The motion number 5 pertains to the $25,000 amount in the budget, select board budget, that was being allocated to incentives and other expenses that would help with its needs. The motion is reducing the fire department conferences and training line item by 20,000, resulting in a total appropriation of 12,200.
This removes those incentives for
It removes the incentives, but retains the EMT certification
expenses.
monies
Yes.
and incentives. So that's why the entire 25,000 is not on the table. The motion is to reduce the line item by 20,000.
Mr. Chair, which I would remind the remainder of the committee was put in as assistance when they didn't approve the other
Correct.
statement.
Right. Okay, are we ready to vote? So if you are voting yay, you are voting to reduce this line item in the select board budget, which is 25,000 to 20,000.
No, to
No.
12,000.
For clarification,
It's,
there's
ahead.
30, for clarification, Lynn, I don't have the page in front of me, but so correct me if I'm off. It's
300.
Yeah. And so this removing of 20,000 brings that budget to that
12,200.
12,000.
Right, it's 32,200. If you remove the 20, it's 12,200.
It's 32,200. Okay, and if we remove the 12,200,
No, you're
it's
removing
20. 20, it's 12,200 is the balance. Okay, is everybody clear on the motion?
Yep.
All right. Please have the vote. Rich Anderson?
No.
No. Lou Boda?
No.
Meg Brown?
Yes.
Karen Epstein?
Yes.
Kim Ilg?
No.
Lindsay Lund?
No.
Cynthia Russos?
Yes.
John Tilley?
Yes.
Charles Kelsey is yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 yes. 1, 2, 3, 4 no's. Motion passes.
Charlie, just for a point of record, Chris Lorio couldn't be here due to a family emergency, so he would have been otherwise.
So noted.
Not emergency, a death in the family.
So noted.
His mom.
All
Mom
right.
passed away, yeah.
I don't mean to minimize that. We're moving forward with the votes. Okay. I'm
Point of information.
Point of information, thank you. And our condolences, of course. All right, motion number 6, which I made related to the Lake Host budget adjustments. I removed the motion, so do I have to vote on removing the motion?
When the person who makes a motion withdraws a motion, you don't have to vote on that.
But we do need to vote to restore the amounts, the original amounts that were in the budget.
No,
You don't?
no.
No, we'll vote on that.
There's
coming
no
up.
motion.
Okay.
We're removing the,
Adam, you're fine.
Yeah.
Adam's fine? God, thank goodness. Adam's fine. All right,
If you withdraw the motion, it keeps it the way it was.
yes. Okay. This is so much fun. I can't tell you. All right, we're on motion number 7, which is my numbering of them, which is in regard to recreation. All right, Tilly, assistant.
Yes.
Here we go. This is following the discussion. The initial motion was to reduce the Recreation Department revolving fund to $1. The events line item under recreation, Parks and Recreation to $1. That was the initial motion. And then in the discussion, there was a second.
The motion was amended to be 7,500. We vote on the amendment. If the amendment passes, we don't have to vote on the original motion.
Thank you.
If the amendment does not pass, we have to vote on the original.
Okay.
But was it amended to 5,000 or to 7,500?
That's a great question. I've got both those numbers.
It was amended 5,000.
5,000.
The amendment was 5,000. So to establish it at 5,000. So the motion is proposed to fund special events through the Recreation Department revolving fund and reduce the appropriation for the special events line item in the Recreation and Park budget to $5,000. Is everyone clear on the motion?
May I just do a little point here? So if you want it to be 5,000, you vote yes on the first one. If you want it to be $1, you vote yes on the second one. If you want it to be restored to 12,500, you vote no on both of them.
Okay, and not to beat a dead horse here, but the revolving fund is not within our purview to dictate. But let's do this.
I'm not sure of that still. I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not sure.
we're,
I know.
Let's just vote.
yeah, we're voting on the appropriation, on the appropriation for that line item.
Yeah.
All right. Tilly, you'll help me. The motion we're voting on right now is
the $5,000.
Is the $5,000 number in the Parks and Recreation budget line
So
item
if
for
you
special
want it to be
events?
$5,000, if you want it to be $5,000,
Your
vote
vote-
yes
Yeah,
now.
if you don't, it's no. Okay.
You vote no now.
That's correct. So we're starting with the 5,000.
Yep.
Do I hear? No.
I'll bring a
Please.
scorecard next time.
Please don't. I don't want to hear it.
Just imagine those board meetings.
Recreation. All right, this is for or against a $5,000 line item, special events line item, starting with Meg Brown.
No,
Pardon?
no,
No. Karen Epstein.
Yes.
Lou Boda,
No.
Rich Anderson.
No.
No. Kim Ilg.
I abstain. Because I serve on the rec committee.
Thank you. Lindsay Lund.
No.
No. Cynthia Russos.
Yes.
Yes. John Tilley.
No.
No. Kelsey is a yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The noes have it. So it does not pass. So we need to vote on the $1 motion.
Yep.
So just now vote on the $1. The motion is to fund special events through the Recreation Department revolving fund and reduce the appropriation for the special events line item under Recreation Parks and Recreation to $1. I need the vote. I want Anderson, Rich.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you just vote. You're voting.
We're voting on $1.
We're having a procedural question. Conversation. Go ahead.
Who's procedurally?
No, go ahead.
You're a no. Okay. Lou Boda,
No.
Meg Brown,
No.
Karen Epstein,
Yes.
Kim Elg, abstain.
Yes. Abstain.
Okay. Lindsay Lund
No.
is a no. Cynthia Russos,
No.
John Tilley,
No.
Charlie Kelsey is no. That motion does not pass. The third motion related to this is, do we need to motion a third motion?
I don't think there was.
No, I don't think there was.
There were.
So that means that
Yeah.
the $12,500 that is presently in the
That
budget
stays.
stays.
Then we vote, yeah, then when we.
Okay,
approve it.
moving on. This is now,
Number eight.
Number 8.
God bless, number 8.
Should be easy.
Yeah, all right. This is in relation to dispatch revenue. The motion is to propose to increase the line item for dispatch services revenue by $39,390 for a new total of $289,390 under the income from departments in the revenue section of the budget. Your vote, please.
Didn't Lynn say that she had a number that was higher than 250 but lower than 289?
No, I said that the 289 is going to actually get paid in fiscal year 26. But if we want to raise this year to be more in line with that, because I'm going to bet billing's not going down,
Okay.
that we
So
can
this is-
vote the 289.
This is copacetic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You'd like to make.
I'm just here just in case.
Oh,
Like
just
to
in
one of my
case.
departments, so I thought I'd come up.
Oh, good. Hi.
Hi.
All right, vote please. Let's go backwards. John, Tilly, not backwards in motion, but just in order.
I can be backwards. Yes.
You're a yes. Cynthia Russos,
Yes.
yes. Lindsay Lund,
No.
no. Kim Elg,
Yes.
Karen Epstein,
Yes.
Meg Brown,
Yes.
Lou Boda,
Yes.
Rich Anderson,
Yes.
Charles Kelsey is a yes. Here endeth the motions.
Done.
Are you going to go through the rest of the budget or
No,
no?
we are not.
Okay.
We are not going through the rest of the budget.
But
What we
does
are
that,
going to
does
do.
that mean that there's no motions for the budget the next time, or we? can
No, we
potentially-
will vote on the full budget. The budget committee will vote on the full budget at the beginning of the reconciliation meeting, but
Okay.
knowing that this meeting was going to go quite long.
Okay.
And we're going to get kicked out soon.
So there are
We kept,
different budgets. So there will be a reconciliation meeting January 30th between the Budget Committee and the
Told you so.
Board of Selectmen.
I did tell you so.
Between now and then, Lynn will have time to modify the documents to be able to present those two budgets at the
Yes.
January 30th meeting.
Yes.
At that meeting, members of the committee, please, at that meeting, the committee, first order of business for the Budget Committee will be to make its budget recommendation for the 2027 fiscal year. At the conclusion of that vote, we will have two budgets, which will then be the topic and subject of the Select Board and Budget Committee reconciliation. That will be held January 30th at 5 p.m. Whipple Memorial Hall.
So that.
Memorial Hall.
January.
January 30th, 5 p.m.
At Whipple.
you may have a conflict. And this is a meeting that will require a quorum of the budget committee. If a quorum cannot be met, then we're going to have to pick another date. But we are time bound to obligations on a number of issues that pertain to statutory requirements as well as deadlines for preparing the materials for the town meeting. Okay. I greatly appreciate the input, the patience and the process that we've undertaken, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Nice job, Charlie.
Ah.
Your wife's gonna be like you again.